Every woman in the room was beautiful, but that had no bearing on who I should sing a duet with. The truth was, singing with any of them felt off, awkward. It was just easier to go it alone. I found Jenna, who was playing MC, and told her, "You know me, I'm kind of a loner. I'll just do a solo." Jenna grinned. "Afraid someone will steal your thunder?" I laughed it off, then got serious. "This song is meant to be sung alone. It's one of my favorites. Give me a shot to do it my way, can you?" She finally relented. None of the women seemed particularly disappointed. No one was exactly clamoring to sing a duet with me. Anyway, it made sense. I didn't have Robin's musical talent or the golden boy halo that surrounded Abner. So, the choice to sing alone, as lonely as it felt, was a smart one. I wasn't exactly dying to perform with any of them, either. I walked to the center of the small stage and called Robin over. The song I wanted to do had a heavy, complex drum part, and he was the only one here who could handle it. It also had a driving bass line that anchored the whole thing, so CC took up the bass. But the final piano piece was missing a player. The musicians who dropped off the gear had already left for another gig at a bar. I addressed the small crowd. "I'm going to do Creep by Radiohead. There's a short piano part at the end. Anyone able to jump in?" Abner spoke up immediately. "That's a great track. I can take the piano part." I had no problem with him volunteering. I couldn't stand the guy, but music should be universal. Bringing personal baggage into it would be a desecration. Just as I was about to nod my approval, Micah cut in, her voice soft but clear. "Abner, could you let me have this one? I love this song too. I've always wanted a chance to play it live." Abner seemed to hang on her every word. He instantly backed down, ceding his spot. And so, under the curious gaze of everyone in the room, Micah sat down at the electric piano. CC, Robin, Micah, they each gave me a nod, signaling they were ready. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, praying we could pull this off. I was confident we could. I'd played with Robin and CC countless times, and Micah's piano part was short. It should be fine. I opened my eyes and nodded to the three of them. Robin kicked it off with the drums. CC and I came in on bass and guitar, and a thick wall of sound filled the space. I didn't try to imitate Tom York's style. My voice soared and then dropped. The tempo sped up and then dragged. Luckily, CC and Robin were live masters. Even with no rehearsal, they locked into my rhythm perfectly. But I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. As I sang the line, my guitar began to roar. Robin laid down a heavier, denser beat, and CC's fingers, armed with a pick, tore the thick bass strings, unleashing a deep, guttural electric groan. In that shredding sound, I was judging myself because I was the creep in the lyrics, the weirdo, a coward, unable to break the chains of my reality. A freak, so strange that even I hated myself. I want to have control / I want a perfect body / I want a perfect soul / I want you to notice / when I'm not around. My voice dropped, suddenly quiet but low, a whisper full of pleading. It was true. I was sick of this life. I wanted a perfect soul, a perfect body. I wanted that crystal city, the city in the sky. And the girl with the long hair falling over her shoulders. If she would just look back at me, just once, it would be enough. But she's running out again / she's running out / she runs. The song hurtled toward its climax, driven by the heaviest drumming yet. I screamed the words, feeling like I'd fallen into the song itself, seeing her running, escaping from me. I chased her, desperate, asking her what she wanted, but she was so damn special, so silent as she left me further and further behind. And then, Micah's fingers touched the keys of the electric piano. A rush of notes filled the air, urgent at first, then slowing, softening, until finally, silence. A gradual return to peace. I stood with my eyes closed, my fingers still clenched around the guitar strings. It had been a long time since a song had shaken me like that. I needed a moment to steady myself. I didn't need to savor it, because the song had been perfectly executed. There was no applause. A lot of people were staring at me, like I was a psychopath. I knew my raw, guttural performance, my bizarre stage presence, had scared them. They couldn't understand this way of interpreting music. Fine. I was a weirdo. That's why I love this kind of grunge. After dragging myself through all those gray years, I'd long since stopped caring whether people understood me. Robin and CC both gave me a thumbs up, a nod of respect for my reinterpretation of the song. Micah, however, just stared down at the keys, silent. The rest of the audience practically booed me off the stage. I surrendered the stage to CC and pushed through the crowd, needing to get outside for some night air and a cigarette. In the throng of people, a man tapped me on the shoulder. He had a kind smile. "That was the best version of Creep I've ever heard," he said. "You sang the soul of that song. Seriously, man. It was brilliant. I managed to smile back at him, the tightness in my chest easing slightly. Even if the whole world thought I was filth, there was always that small handful of people who could see the spark. It's why I never tried to live for the world, but for the few who got me. Outside the mall, Aria Grande's giant neon sign still cast a dazzling glow. The air smelled damp like it had just rained. I lit a cigarette in the cold wind, enjoying a moment of solitude. It wouldn't last long. After the cigarette, I had to go back, wrap up this little impromptu concert, and then take everyone out to dinner. I don't know when she appeared, but suddenly Micah was standing beside me. "You really are a strange one," she said. "You organize a concert, then keep leaving in the middle of it. You're out here now, too. It gets stuffy in the mall after a while. I bet other people will come out soon." An idea sparked. "Let's make a bet," I said, a grin spreading across my face. "Let's bet on who comes out next." "Bet what?" "Let's keep it friendly. You name the stakes." Micah thought for a moment. "Okay, fine. If I win, you have to go back in there and sing a normal, upbeat song. Deal." "Are you dissing my last performance?" She shook her head. "I'm not dissing it. You sang it very well. But I don't want you to live like you're in that song." Listening to you, I felt sad. I was silent for a moment. "Fine," I finally said. "If I lose, I'll sing a normal song." "What if you lose?" "I'll buy everyone dinner tonight." I did the math in my head. This was a no-lose situation. If I lost, I just had to sing a song. If I won, I'd save a ton of money on dinner, at least $1,000. I quickly agreed. We each named 3 people. Micah's picks, CC, Chloe, and Ava. My picks, Ben, Robin, and Abner. Jenna was out. She was hosting and wouldn't leave her post. I was sure I had this in the bag. Abner was on my list, and there was no way he wouldn't come looking for Micah if she was gone for too long. I lit another cigarette, admiring my own brilliant deduction, and turned with Micah to watch the exit, waiting smugly for the results to be revealed. About 5 minutes later, the automatic doors slid open, and Chloe walked out. I was dumbfounded. Why Chloe? It should have been Abner. I stared at Micah in disbelief, refusing to accept the outcome. It made no sense. Micah just smiled. "She's been wearing a mask since she got here." I figured she was probably more suffocated than anyone else. Her analysis was flawless. I had no choice but to concede. My mistake was judging the outcome based on emotion. Micah had used simple physics and won. Emotions really were the most unreliable things in the world. Chloe came over, pulled off her mask, and gave me a small smile before taking a deep, relieved breath. "Micah, ever considerate, said to us, 'You two chat.' I'm heading back in." "Okay." Micah gave me a pointed look. "Remember, a bet's a bet." "Don't worry," I said, thumping my chest. "I'm a man of my word." She shot me a skeptical glance, as if she didn't believe a thing I said but didn't argue. She just turned and walked back into the mall. Chloe asked, "What was that about a bet?" "It's all your fault." She looked confused. "How's it my fault? Did you two use me as betting material?" "Basically, we were betting on who would come out of the mall first. Your name was on our list, you came out, so I lost." "And what happens when you lose?" "Right now, I only want to talk about what would have happened if I'd won. If you hadn't come out, she would have been buying us all dinner tonight." I said it with a hint of complaint. That was a bet worth over $1,000, and I was so broke I was about to sell myself for parts. "Is that all? I'll take care of dinner. Everyone's here to help the bar, which is helping me." Her words took me by surprise. In the back of my mind, I still pictured her as being in a worse state than I was, so I never even considered asking her to pay. But the truth was, she wasn't the same person she used to be. A little thing like dinner was nothing to her now. I didn't argue. I wasn't the kind of guy to pretend I had money when I didn't. With that settled, we stood there in the cold wind, a silence stretching between us as we waited for the next topic to surface. "Leo," she began, "do you ever regret it? Giving up your fiancé to come to Portland and help me?" It was a question I wasn't prepared for, and it caught me off guard. But I let myself imagine it. What if none of this had happened? I was sure I'd be planning my engagement party with Liz by now, still working hard for our future, for our family. We wouldn't have been rich, but we would have been comfortable. A quiet sigh escaped me. I wonder how Liz was doing now. Was she still on the blind date circuit, or had she found someone? Chloe, noticing my silence, pressed again. "Do you regret it?" "Some things are just instinct for me," I said. "So don't ask such a stupid question, okay?" "You mean, being good to me is your instinct?" "God damn it. Not this sentimental crap again." I swore at her, just like I used to, my patience worn thin. But Chloe didn't flinch. She gave me the same answer she always had. "Go on then. Curse me out." I stared at her for a long moment. "I'm never saying that word in front of you again." "Why not?" "Because it's indecent." A look of amused disbelief crossed her face. "It's not like you're some refined gentleman, Leo." I glanced at my reflection in the storefront window. I thought I looked pretty damn refined. But that wasn't the point. She was missing the point entirely. For us, all that talk was in the distant past. And if it's in the past, there's no need to bring it up again. We went back into the mall. Cece and Robin were now performing a duet with Abner on piano. Micah was standing in the crowd, watching them with a focused expression. She only noticed me when I was right beside her. All done talking, she asked. Yeah, you're a man of your word, right? It's just one upbeat, normal song. Fine. What do you want me to sing? Micah looked like she'd been waiting for this. The Barney song. The what? I love you. You know, from a show we all watched as kids. My face fell. It's upbeat, I'll give you that. But is it normal? If you think that song isn't normal, she argued, you're disowning your own childhood. You can't be serious. You're just trying to humiliate me. I can't. I have a reputation to maintain. I know you like deep, meaningful songs, but sometimes you have to go to the other extreme. The songs that seem childish are often the ones with the most meaning. Bullshit. I love you. You love me. We're a happy family. That has meaning. Micah's expression turned sour. If you can't handle losing, you shouldn't have made the bet. My mind raced for an excuse. Who said I can't handle it? I don't know the guitar chords for that song. I'll play for you. And if you don't remember the lyrics, I can write them down for you. I felt trapped with no way out. I couldn't understand why this woman was always finding new and creative ways to make my life difficult. After Robin and Cece finished, Micah walked onto the stage and whispered something in Cece's ear. Cece burst out laughing and nodded enthusiastically. Leo, come on up. Micah called out. Cece and I will be your backup. You better give it your all, because this is the grand finale of our concert. Now the crowd was buzzing with anticipation. The performances so far had been spectacular, so the finale had to be the best of the best. I trudged onto the small stage in silence and stood in front of the microphone, feeling a strange mix of nerves and intense discomfort. The eager faces in the audience only made it worse. Robin, who had apparently gotten the memo from Micah, was back behind his drum kit, looking serious and ready. The more professional he looked, the more it felt like he was just showing off. Yeah, you try singing this, you bastard. The cheerful, bouncy intro music started to play. I subconsciously rubbed my nose, my whole being rejecting this, but my professional instincts took over. I followed the rhythm and began to sing. I love you. You love me. We're a happy family. First, there were blank stares from the audience. Then, ripples of laughter turned into a full-blown roar. I was the butt of the joke. After singing a grunge anthem they couldn't understand, here I was singing this. As I sang, I grumbled to myself, you all get to show off your talents, and I'm stuck being the clown who warms up the crowd. What a bunch of goddamn friends I have. My voice, weighed down by my foul mood, got quieter and quieter. But then Micah, who was strumming her guitar, suddenly pushed me aside, took the mic, and continued the song in a playful, childish voice. I froze, stunned. I was captivated by her cute imitation, and I realized with a jolt that she wasn't trying to embarrass me. After her verse, Micah passed the mic to Cece, who also put on a high-pitched voice and sang along. This sudden turn of events caught the audience by surprise, but after a moment, they burst into applause and started singing along too. When Cece finished, she took the mic over to Robin. He improvised, throwing in a high-energy rap verse that electrified the atmosphere even more. By the end, even Ava, Chloe, and Ben had come up on stage to join in. Watching this joyous chaos, I had a sudden realization. The only person in the entire room who couldn't let go was me. I didn't know what the future held for this group of people, but in that moment, we had truly set aside all our baggage and were singing this childish song with the purest joy. And I finally understood Micah's brilliant move. We were all suffocating under the pressure of city life, and we needed a release like this. All those supposedly deep, meaningful songs suddenly seemed like pretentious, self-pitying nonsense in comparison. As the extended version of the children's song finally wound down, Micah, who had been jumping around with everyone else, had a light sheen of sweat on her forehead. She gently wiped it away, took the mic, and stood at the center of the stage. After a pause, she spoke, her voice full of genuine emotion. Thank you all again for stopping by and being part of this impromptu concert. We chose this song to end with because we wanted everyone to feel the power of returning to something simple and true. We all want to live a little more freely, but reality puts so many chains on us. And while we can't always break free, we can find our own ways to relieve the pressure of living under them. So, please come visit us at the 5th season. It's a theme bar where you're guaranteed to find this kind of simple, back-to-basics fun. Thunderous applause erupted from a crowd. And this time, I was certain it had nothing to do with Micah's beauty. It was genuine praise from the audience, because her words had touched the deepest, most hidden desires in their hearts. Once again, she had used her wisdom to amplify the impact of this event beyond anything I could have imagined. I believe this concert was the initial push that would set our bar sailing toward success. But a woman who was such a perfect blend of intelligence, beauty, kindness, and wealth. Could she possibly be real? I found it even harder to imagine her as my girlfriend. I didn't dare to even fantasize about that day ever coming. After the impromptu concert, our group headed to a restaurant for dinner. It was a lively crowd, but it got even rowdier when JT and the rest of the band showed up after their gig. With those heavy drinkers in the mix, it was inevitable that I'd get drunk. But I didn't fear the hangover. It had been too long since I'd had a night where my soul could just run wild. And it was unlikely our group would ever come together like this again for another spontaneous show. Eventually, Robin and Chloe would have to go back to Seattle, and that irritating Abner would return to the States. But his skill on the instruments had been undeniable. It wouldn't have been a complete concert without him. So I found myself clinging to this night, even as it was still unfolding. When dinner ended, I staggered out of the restaurant with the others, my head spinning. But I was already craving the familiar vision of my city in the sky. So I stopped walking and just urged everyone else to leave. Jenna looked at me with concern. "Leo, are you completely wasted? Can you even get home safely?" Before I could answer, Chloe stepped in. "I'll take him home. See? I've got a ride." I mumbled, slumping down on the curb. "You all just go on and get out of here." I lit a cigarette, secretly wishing they would all disappear so I could have my city to myself. I didn't want to share it with them. I didn't realize it then, but this petty possessiveness was just the drunken foolishness talking. My own frail body could never contain that entire city. The only way to let its light shine was to share it. The night was deep. One by one, they said their goodbyes, until only Chloe remained. "You should go too," I told her. "I'm just going to sit here for a bit and let the cold wind turn you into an idiot. Then why are you still here? Be careful it doesn't turn you into one too." I slurred, the alcohol making my words crude. But Chloe, as always, was unfazed by my coarseness. She just smiled. "Then I'll be an idiot with you." I stared at her for a long moment, then scooped up a handful of pebbles from the ground and pressed them into her hand. "They're all yours. Now go." Chloe closed her hand around the stones but didn't move. "You think you can get rid of me with a few pebbles? You think they're diamonds? Is there a difference?" She didn't answer, but her grip on the stones tightened. My mind, muddled by alcohol, was in no shape to decipher her actions. I pulled the cellophane wrapper off my cigarette pack and held it up to my eye, searching for my city in the sky. Chloe, who had been silent, gently took the wrapper from my hand. "I'm going back to Seattle tomorrow afternoon," she said. "Let me stay with you tonight. Please." She paused and added, "We can just talk." I glanced at her, then snatched the cellophane back. "What's that talk about?" "The same old tired complaints." I held the plastic to my eye again, but the city wouldn't appear, and a wave of frustration washed over me. Suddenly, Chloe's face hardened. She shoved me, and I tumbled onto my back on the pavement. Before I could react, she was straddling me, her voice trembling with anger. "I'm a woman, offering to keep you company, and you won't even talk? Who the hell do you think you are?" The faint, feminine scent of her perfume drifted into my nose with the cold wind. The dizziness intensified, and then nothing. I passed out, with no idea how long she sat there on top of me. When I woke up the next day, it was already noon. I sat up in bed, looking around the room in a daze, and realized I was in CC's apartment. In her bedroom. "CC." I yelled. "CC." She ran into the room, looking alarmed. "What is it? You're going to wake the dead. How did I end up here again? Don't you remember anything from last night?" She complained. "If I remembered, I wouldn't be asking you. Chloe brought you here. You threw up everywhere. She was a wreck trying to take care of you. She didn't get back to her hotel until after 1 in the morning. Where is she now?" She and Robin already left for the airport. They should be boarding soon. I instinctively looked out the window. The sunlight was blinding. A pang of regret hit me. Just like that, they were gone? Maybe the wind really had turned me into an idiot last night. Why didn't I just talk to her? Why didn't I ask her about her life in Seattle? Now the next time I'd see her was a lifetime away, and this regret would have to wait. I was lost in thought for a moment. CC patted my shoulder. "Get up. Eat some lunch. We have to get to the bar and get ready for the opening tonight." I had lunch at CC's restaurant. As I ate, I remember the bank card Chloe had left me. I had to pay Micah back. I dialed Micah's number while I ate. After a few rings, she picked up, her voice groggy. "Are you still asleep?" I asked, surprised. "MMM. It hit me. Abner had also gotten blackout drunk last night. Micah must have been the one taking care of him. No wonder she was exhausted enough to sleep this late. Where did you stay last night? Why are you asking?" I knew exactly why I was asking, but I played dumb. Just worried you might be sleeping on the street. Your room is occupied by the Ivy League turtle, right? Yes. A chill went down my spine. So she probably stayed with Abner. I was silent for a moment before pressing. So where did you stay? At home. My heart sank. So I was right. Even though I knew Micah was a decent person, it was late, they were alone, and one of them was drunk. It wasn't impossible for things to get out of hand. It had happened to me and Chloe before. Is that all you called for? To ask where I slept? No, not really, I lied. But I'm glad you were home. At least you weren't homeless. There was a pause on her end. Then she asked, why didn't you come home last night? I was taken aback. How did you know I didn't come home? I was staying in the old house. How do you think I know? I froze. The old house. She meant our old apartment. A wave of pure joy washed over me. She hadn't been with Abner last night. Snapping back to reality, I rushed to explain. I stayed at CC's last night. You can call her and check if you don't believe me. Where you stay is none of my business. It's better if you don't come back. Saves me the trouble of having to kick you out. Her words stung, but I pushed on, shameless. You were just worried about me, weren't you? Since I was blackout drunk. My comment seemed to leave her speechless. After a moment, she said, if you don't have anything important to say, I'm hanging up. Wait, I do. Don't hang up. Then hurry up. I need to get out of bed. Give me your bank account number. I'm going to transfer you the money Chloe owed you. Micah sounded surprised. She got back on her feet that fast. That's the entertainment industry for you, I said, telling the truth but glossing over the sacrifices Chloe must have made. I still wasn't sure what they were, but I knew no one just stumbles into that kind of money. Sign a contract, do an endorsement, and the money rolls in. I'll text you the account number in a bit. Oh, and I still have her. Are you coming to the bar tonight? If you are, you could just give it to me then. It's the grand opening. Of course I'll be there. Suddenly, the gambling bug bit me again. Hey, let's make another bet. On how many people show up tonight. Why do you like betting so much? Wrong, I said, immediately defensive. I don't like betting. I just want a chance to win one back. Do you have to be so competitive, even with a woman? I launched into another ridiculous argument. You're wrong again. Gambling knows no borders and no gender. The fact that I keep betting with you just shows how much I respect women. That almost makes sense, she conceded. Fine, give me a range for the crowd size. I thought for a moment. 100 to 150. Then I'll take 150 to 200. Good. Get ready to lose. This time, when you lose, you have to do what I say and sing for the customers to liven things up. No problem. And if you lose, you name the terms. Micah thought it over. You have to buy me a guitar. I still don't have one of my own. I immediately deflated. She was loaded. Why did she always want me to buy her things? First the RC car, now a guitar. And neither of them was cheap. Hearing my silence, Micah pressed. Is buying me a guitar that much of a hardship for you? Besides, you might not even lose. The moment I heard the word besides, a sense of dread washed over me. I'd learned from experience that whenever she used a word like that, it meant she'd already laid a trap and was now coaxing me to walk right into it. But then I reconsidered. I was the one who suggested the bet. She hadn't had time to set a trap. My worry was baseless. Buying you a guitar is no big deal, I said, my tone shifting abruptly. But I can't afford it. It was the simple truth. I couldn't just get her some $100 piece of junk. It wouldn't be worthy of her talent. Micah was quiet for a long time before saying, you can owe me. I smiled and agreed instantly. And like you said, I might not even lose. This is all just a hypothetical, right? Well, I wish you the best of luck. Don't let that hypothetical become a reality. No problem. We'll see tonight. After lunch at CC's, I went to the bank and transferred the money, paying back Ava and Micah the $50,000 each that Chloe owed them. A wave of relief washed over me, like a snail shedding its heavy shell. With that weight off my shoulders, I could finally focus everything on making the bar a success. CC and I spent the entire afternoon at the bar getting ready for the opening. To our surprise, customers started showing up around 5. They said they'd seen our performance at Aria Grand the day before and wanted to come early to experience the charm of the 5th season for themselves. I was torn. I was thrilled that my concept for the bar was already grabbing people's attention, but I was worried that at this rate, I was guaranteed to lose my bet with Micah. The worry vanished as quickly as it came. Deep down, I kind of wanted to buy Micah a guitar. A guitar was something she would have for a long time, maybe even a lifetime, just like the one Ava had given me. For the first wave of customers, we gave everyone a free beer, whether they had one of our promotional flyers or not. They drank and chatted, commenting on the newly reopened bar. I moved among them, listening to their feedback and taking mental notes for future improvements. Overall, the reviews were overwhelmingly positive. People were excited about a bar that prioritized a certain vibe and state of mind. Winter nights arrive quickly. Before I knew it, the sky was completely dark. I stood by the door, welcoming guests. Around 6:30, I finally saw the familiar red Audi Q7 pull up. Inside, dressed in casual clothes, was Micah. She parked and walked over to me. I looked her over and smiled. That's a nice red-down jacket. I wore it on purpose. For good luck. Hopefully the bar has a fiery, successful opening. If the bar is successful, I make money. If I have money, I can buy you a guitar. You're really playing the long game, aren't you? Of course, of course. Just waiting for you to get rich and buy it for me. She looked around as a van pulled up and another group of customers got out. Micah grinned. Looks like you're going to lose tonight. Even if I lose, I'll be happy. The more people that come, the better. It means they approve of the bar. Micah seemed pleased. She patted my shoulder. Keep up the good work. Don't let my expectations down. I didn't say anything, but that word, expectations, was enough to send my mind racing. I hoped it wasn't just something she said, but that she really was hopeful for me. Micah didn't go inside right away. She stayed with me by the door, welcoming the steady stream of guests, and we chatted idly. How come you're here alone today? I asked. Where's your little Ivy League turtle friend? He hasn't been back to the country in a while. He has other friends to see. But can you please stop calling him that? He is an Ivy League turtle. Besides, I bet he calls me something much worse behind my back. Micah suddenly laughed. My face fell. Spill it. What does he call me behind my back? She shook her head vigorously. I can't tell you that. You want me to strangle you? What are you going to strangle me for? I'm not the one who calls you that. A mix of curiosity and annoyance churned in my gut. Call him right now. Tell him to come over here. I want to have a talk with him face to face. I'm not doing that. And besides, I think what he calls you is pretty fitting. You're just going to take his side? You don't like it when I call him a name, but when he calls me something awful behind my back, you think it's a big joke. Micah gave me a look that said it's perfectly logical. It depends on the person, and you should take a look at how you usually treat me. I seized the opportunity. Yeah, well, I'm not the one who rents out an entire movie theater to make a grand romantic gesture. So pretentious. You are not allowed to bring that up. The words are already out there. Can't take them back. I said it. What are you going to do about it? I looked at her, challenging. Leech. I never heard Micah use such a fresh insult. It took me a second to process, and then anger flared. What the? You say that so naturally. You definitely learned it from the turtle, didn't you? You are a leech. Without thinking, I grabbed an unprepared Micah and, in one swift motion, half-tackled her, not letting her fall completely, but catching her across my lap. Say it again. I dare you, I growled. I'll throw you on the ground and show you what it really means to be flipped upside down. The color drained from her face, but it wasn't panic or fear. Her expression was cold and hard as she said, Leo, don't joke with me like this. I don't like it at all. Her icy tone stopped me cold. I instinctively moved to help her up, but at that exact moment, Mr. Clark and Ben, who had come to support the opening, got out of their car and saw the whole thing. It seemed like every time we had any kind of questionable physical contact, we were inexplicably caught by someone we knew. Last time, it was the warden. This time, it was Ben and Mr. Clark. Lying across my lap, Micah's view was obstructed, so she didn't see them approaching. And from their angle, they couldn't see her face. Ben walked up to me, a smirk on his face. Leo, flirting with some girl, are we? I couldn't speak. Finally, I lifted Micah, who I'd been holding down, back to her feet. Ben and Mr. Clark froze. They were genuinely, thoroughly shocked. They exchanged a wide-eyed glance before stammering, Ms. Micah. Micah tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, gave Ben and Mr. Clark a brief nod, and then immediately averted her gaze. That small movement betrayed her embarrassment more than anything else could have. Ben and Mr. Clark looked at me with expressions I couldn't quite read. I copied Micah, turning my head to stare off into the distance. It wasn't that I was embarrassed. I'd already pissed her off, so I figured I might as well lean into it and annoy her a little more. Ben shot me a nervous smile, then turned to Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark, it's windy out here. Let's head inside the bar. Mr. Clark nodded, and they quickly made their way into the bar, leaving Micah and me alone once again. Was that fun, Leo? Micah asked, her face a thundercloud. I nodded, then quickly tried to smooth out her slightly rumpled jacket. She took a step back. Don't touch me. I'm really sick of you right now. When you were clinging to me the other day, did I ever say I was sick of you? Tell me, why can't things ever be equal between us? You have a nerve to bring that up? You're the one who pulled me out of the car in the first place. Yeah, because you were sick and refusing to stay in Portland. You were determined to go to Seattle. Did I have a choice? And look how you treated me. You were welded to me like a block of iron. I had to carry you up 5 flights of stairs, and did I complain? No, I put up with it. I raised my voice, pressing the point. Tell me yourself, why can't things be equal between us? Because I'm a woman. I can. Before she could finish, I cut her off. And I'm an alien. Does that mean you have to build me a spaceship to satisfy my needs? Micah stared at me, utterly speechless. After a long moment, she said, what kind of twisted logic is that? A logic that's one step above yours. In front of this alien, you, a mere woman, must bow down and worship me. Micah looked at me, and then she laughed, a helpless, exasperated sound. I swear, you've laughed me out of my anger. Seeing my chance, I moved in, putting an arm around her shoulders. See? You just laughed. So don't be mad at me anymore. I promise I won't do it again. She didn't pull away, but her tone was serious. First, let's be clear. What is it that you won't do again? Losing my temper after you verbally attack me and getting physical. What do you mean, getting physical? You make yourself sound like some kind of pervert. Then how should I put it? I asked, genuinely confused. Micah thought for a moment. You shouldn't hit me. How many times have you hit me now? Do you even remember? Now, it was my turn to be speechless. She had so neatly slapped the label of woman beater on me. My version sounded much better. Who hit you? You nearly threw me on the ground. And that doesn't count as hitting? You're always threatening to strangle me, scare me with cockroaches. And that time a long while ago, you roughly pushed me onto the bed. Micah stopped abruptly, a blush creeping up her cheeks as she realized what she'd just blurted out in her agitation. A grin spread across my face. And after you pushed me onto the bed, what did I do then? She glared at me, at a loss for words. Finally, she stammered, you didn't do anything else. I pulled your hair and pushed you off the bed. See? You were the one hitting me. Micah had finally lost our war of words. After a long silence, she mumbled, her voice lacking its usual conviction, you deserved it. Right. You could beat me to death, and I deserve it. But if I touch you once, it's an unforgivable crime. Today, I finally understand what tyranny feels like. Micah looked down, silent. Her expression made me panic. I was suddenly afraid I'd said something to hurt her and frantically tried to recall my last words. She finally looked up at me, her voice barely a whisper. Every time, whether you're really angry or just messing with me, I get scared. I don't feel safe at all. Can you? Can you just be a little nicer to me? I stared at her, stunned. She was asking me for a sense of security. But isn't that something only lovers ask of each other? My head was spinning. I couldn't figure out what she was trying to say. In my days, a red Cadillac CTS pulled up and parked in front of us. Jenna and Ava got out, the last of our guests to arrive. They walked over to us. Jenna, all smiles, handed me a card. Ben and I didn't get you a gift, so we got you this instead. Congratulations on the bar. We hope it's a huge success. You guys just coming here is enough. You didn't have to do this. I didn't take the card. Jenna forcibly stuffed it into my pocket. You probably don't even have money for cigarettes. Stop pretending and just take it. Her public declaration of my poverty made my face burn. I hated looking so pathetic, especially in front of Ava. But then Ava pulled 2 more cards out of her purse and handed them to me. Nathan's out of the country, so he couldn't come to congratulate you in person. Please forgive him. I'm giving you this on his behalf. I replied without thinking. One from the 2 of you would have been fine. The atmosphere instantly froze. Jenna quickly snatched the cards from Ava's hand and laughed, trying to break the tension. 2 is better than 1, right? Just take them. We need to get inside. It's freezing out here. Jenna stuffed the cards into my other pocket, smiled at Micah, and then pulled Ava into the bar. Once again, it was just me and Micah. It seemed like everyone had arrived. The wind felt even colder now that we were alone. Micah looked at me apologetically. Leo, I forgot to get you a card. I'm so sorry. She pulled a thick wad of cash from her wallet and tried to hand it to me. Are you stupid? You're an investor in this bar. Why would you give me anything? But Micah, copying Jenna, waited for me to be distracted and shoved the money into my pocket, then grabbed my arm to stop me from pulling it out. She smiled. Didn't you need to buy me a guitar? With the money you just gave me? I asked, unsure. It's yours now. You could do what you want with it. I knew she was just trying to save me from the embarrassment of not being able to afford the guitar, but was it necessary? Don't you think this is all a bit much? I asked her. You could just buy it yourself. My question seemed to strike a nerve. She frowned. I just want you to give it to me. Can you do that? Can you, Leo? Her words sent a jolt through me. On a sudden impulse, my brain short-circuiting, I asked, do you have feelings for me? The words were barely out of my mouth before my own heart started to hammer against my ribs. I was suffocating, already regretting it. It felt like I had desecrated something sacred, had single-handedly demolished the fortress I had so carefully built, leaving all the hidden emotions exposed and raw. Micah kept her gaze fixed on something in the distance. The wind gusted, making the light from the street lamps tremble and blurring her features. "Tell me," she finally asked, her voice quiet. "What is there about you to like?" My soul shriveled in the fire of her question. Pain. I was a dirty man. I had fallen. She was pure. I had nothing. She was so rich in every way. So what was there to like? If we were two wicks meant to be lit, we had no oil to sustain the flame. Even twisted together, we would only suffocate each other and never escape the slow burn of time. I lit a cigarette and blew a plume of smoke in her direction. "Just kidding," I said with a laugh. "Why are you treating it like a philosophical debate, trying to get to the root of it all?" Micah waved the smoke away with a look of disgust and turned to walk into the bar. Watching her back, I pinched out the cigarette after a single drag. I squatted down on the pavement and looked up at the sky. The wind was strong tonight, but the moon was bright. My city in the sky must have been blown behind it. It left me with no point of reference, no direction to light the fireworks that were supposed to be so brilliant. Inside the bar, customers and friends had all found their seats. CC was on stage, singing quietly under the dim, hazy lights. I scanned the room and finally spotted Micah, sitting with Mr. Clark and Ben. I wanted to join them, but there wasn't a single empty chair. Ava and Jenna were in another corner, and there was one free seat next to them. I hesitated, but with the bar so packed, even the stools at the counter were taken. I finally walked over to their table. As I went to sit down, I saw Jenna's purse was on the empty chair. She smiled at me. "See how thoughtful I am? I saved this spot just for you." Seriously, so many people showed up tonight. It clicked. That's why this one spot had remained empty in the crowded room. I moved her purse to the table and sat down beside her. "Why aren't you sitting with Ben?" "They're all colleagues, talking shop. I didn't want to get in the way. By the way, thank you so much for recommending Ben to Aria Grant. This is the best opportunity of his career." "Ben earned it," I said, my eyes instinctively drifting over to Micah's table. Ben and Mr. Clark were now officially working at Aria Grant. I hoped they could become Micah's allies, giving her the support she needed so she wouldn't have to fight her battles alone. Ava, who had been silent, finally spoke. "Leo, I received the $51,000 you transferred." She took 10 $100 bills from her purse and placed them on the table in front of me. "Take this back. I don't need it." I shook my head. "Chloe insisted you take it. You should keep it." You know what she meant by it? Ava gave a humorless smile. "Because I'm your ex-girlfriend, she doesn't want to be indebted to me." I didn't deny it. Chloe certainly had an aversion to Ava, but whether it was because of our past relationship was hard to say. Jenna pushed the money back into Ava's bag. "If she doesn't want to owe you, then don't force it. And don't argue with money." In that moment, I was grateful for Jenna. She might see the world through a practical, even cynical lens, but sometimes you need practical solutions to resolve complicated conflicts. After CC finished her set, the crowd started calling for Micah and Ava to sing a duet. Most of them had been at the impromptu concert the day before, and the two women had left a lasting impression. I glanced nervously at Ava, then at Micah across the room. I was eager to see them perform together, but it felt impossible. In my mind, these two women, both so exceptional, were fundamentally incompatible. CC went to Ava's table first. "Ava, the crowd is so fired up, and it's our first official night. Let's not disappoint them, okay?" Ava looked over at Micah, then nodded. "If she's okay with it, I am too." CC smiled. "I'll go ask her. I doubt she'll refuse, not when everyone's having such a good time." CC walked over to Micah's table, leaned in, and whispered something. Micah nodded and stood up. After CC gave Ava an okay sign, Ava stood as well. The bar erupted in applause. A strange feeling stirred inside me. It felt unbelievable, but I was still excited to see them cooperate. Micah and Ava walked to the small stage, one after the other. CC handed them each a microphone and asked what song they wanted to sing. They just looked at each other, neither speaking. God only knew what was going through their minds. Finally, CC, the queen of saving awkward situations, spoke up. But she spoke to me. "Leo, what do you think they should sing?" First, the familiar faces turned to me, then the strangers followed their lead. For the first time, I was the center of attention. I thought for a moment, how about Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros? CC clapped her hands. "Home, perfect for a bar opening. That's a great idea, really great." She turned to Ava and Micah. "What do you two think?" They both nodded at the same time, still without exchanging a single word. CC wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead. "Ava, you take the male vocal part. Micah, you take the female part, okay?" They both just nodded again. CC made another show of wiping her brow, as if to say, being the queen of saves is hard work. The intro music began. I watched, captivated. Under the lights, they were breathtaking. It was a visual feast. Alabama, Arkansas. I do love my ma and pa. Not the way that I do love you. Well, holy moly me, oh my, you're the apple of my eye, girl. I've never loved one like you. Ava's voice and Micah's voice intertwined, weaving around me. I was completely mesmerized. It was a seamless collaboration, so perfect it created an illusion. In my mind, Ava and Micah were lifelong friends, equally beautiful, equally gifted, equally divine. The song faded, but the applause and cheers were deafening. I was lost in the moment, submerged in the flashing lights, until Jenna nudged me back to reality. She held out her phone. Look at the picture I just took of them. She paused, sighing. A match made in heaven. How can two women be so perfect? It's enough to make any woman jealous. A thought flashed through my mind. Send me that picture, I said urgently. I have a use for it. Jenna looked confused, but sent the photo anyway. I immediately ran to my car, grabbed my laptop, and started putting together a piece of promotional content using today's photo and yesterday's video footage from the Aryagram performance. The headline, A Beautiful World Inside the 5th Season. I edited the best parts of yesterday's video into a short highlights reel, spent 15 minutes writing the copy, and then walked up to the stage. I took the microphone. Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt. The room quickly quieted down, all eyes on me again. I gathered my thoughts. Today is the grand opening of the 5th season, and I'm so grateful to all of you for being here. This bar is a little different. We have a very specific vision for our customers, which means we're probably going to be a niche spot. But our hope is to make this place a quiet, independent world. If you like it here, we hope you'll recommend it to friends who are looking for the same thing. I put together a little promo post, and I'd like to ask you all to share it on your social media feeds. Of course, this is completely voluntary. No pressure at all. For anyone who does share it, we'll give you a beer on the house as a thank you. It's a small token, but it's sincere. The crowd was full of decent people. They understood immediately. A business needs to stay afloat, and the people here tonight couldn't be here every night. We needed to reach a wider audience of like-minded consumers. I gave them the link to the post, and a sea of phones came out as people started sharing it. The high level of cooperation from our customers was a huge relief. It was the first real validation that my business strategy and promotional tactics were on the right track. This group of high-quality consumers would be the engine for the bar's growth. It was getting late. The customers and our friends began to leave, until only the staff, Micah, CC, and I were left. As we were about to close, CC came over to me, her face glowing with excitement. Leo, I got the final tally. Do you know how many customers we had tonight? I glanced at Micah, who I knew had been waiting for this result. I shook my head. I don't know. Over 100 for sure. CC nodded. Not counting our friends who came to support us, we had 198 paying customers. That's 198 people, not 198 transactions. Her specific emphasis left me stunned. It was like Micah had some kind of superpower. The result was just shy of her 200-person upper limit. I had lost, and I'd lost fair and square. Just as I was about to admit defeat, CC said, Leo, my restaurant is about to close too, so I have to run. Can you look after the bar? Yeah, leave it to me. Drive safe. CC nodded, said goodbye to Micah, and left, giving me yet another opportunity to be alone with her. So, Leo, are you going to honor the bet? Micah asked, a playful, triumphant smile on her face. You don't have to ask. I'm not going to back out. I owe you a guitar. Then I want it now. Her demand caught me completely off guard. But you said I could owe you. Besides, where am I going to buy you a guitar this late at night? The fact that it's almost impossible to buy one is what will prove the sincerity of your concession. Why are you so fickle? That's not what you said before. Micah fell silent, a clear sign she was not pleased. Then I remembered her giving me the cash earlier, ostensibly as a good luck gift. It felt like she'd mentioned using that money to buy her a guitar. I hesitated for a moment, then pulled out my phone and dialed JT's number. After a moment, he picked up. Yo, Leo. What's up? Calling this late. I walked to a corner of the bar and lowered my voice. You have a friend who owns a music store, right? Yeah. I need to buy a guitar. Before I could finish, the impatient JT cut me off. So buy one. What's the big deal? I'll have my buddy give you a discount. He thought for a second and added, Don't you already have that killer custom guitar? You upgrading? I'm not sure my friend's shop has anything better than what you've got. His logic was giving me a headache. JT, shut up and listen to me. I have 2 points. First, the guitar is a gift for a friend. Second, I need to buy it right now. You serious? Look what time it is. Can't you buy it tomorrow? No, JT, I can't. Why do you think I'm calling you now? You think it's for a damn discount? I don't need a discount. I need you to make this happen for me now. Immediately. Right now. JT was silent for a long time. Leo, man, you're getting more and more high maintenance. Fine. You asked. I'll call my friend right now and have him meet you at the shop. I ended the call, relieved, but also wondering why I was going to such great lengths. To make a beautiful woman smile? That didn't feel right. I wasn't the type of guy who went out of my way to please women. I just couldn't stand the thought of seeing disappointment on her face. Because when she was disappointed, I felt sad. I walked back over to Micah. What brand and what kind of wood do you want for your guitar? I'll go buy it for you now. I want to go with you. It's really late. You should go home and rest. Micah shook her head, repeating her words with firm resolve. I want to go with you. Fine, but don't regret it. What's there to regret? I grinned. I'm going to make you a biker chick for a night. It's exciting, but a little cold. Oh, Micah exclaimed. I didn't say any more. I just grabbed her hand, led her to the bar's storage room, and rolled out the racing motorcycle Robin had left behind. I handed her a helmet. We're going to buy a guitar, so we need to have the right rock and roll vibe. A motorcycle is a must. But if you're afraid of the cold, we can just take a car. This is exciting. Why would I be afraid of the cold? Micah said, already putting on the helmet. I smiled at her. No wonder Robin had picked up so many women with this bike. It seemed all women had a thing for motorcycles, and Micah was no exception. I pushed the bike outside with Micah following close behind. I put on my helmet, swung my leg over the seat, and Micah did the same. I started the engine, and the roar shattered the night silence. Hold on tight, I yelled over the noise. We're taking off. I couldn't hear what she said in response, but I felt her arms wrapped tightly around my waist. And just like that, the classic scene of a biker and his girl played out between us. I didn't know what this meant to Micah, but I knew I would never forget this night and this moment. We tore through the night, breaking free from its cage, from the city's restraints, flying down a road of pure freedom. The wind roared in my ears, but I could feel Micah's warmth against my back, a heat so intense it felt like it was melting me. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt like this, except for the night Ava gave herself to me. As we neared the music store, I had a strange feeling, as if this one ride had taken me through all the desolation and splendor of life. If I were to grow old right then, I would have no regrets. The engine's roar subsided. I took off my helmet and killed the engine, then turned to look at Micah. She had taken her helmet off too. Her face was slightly flushed, maybe from being cooped up in the helmet, and her hair was a mess. But it only made her look more beautiful, a kind of unkempt, natural beauty. I smiled at her. Well, exciting enough for you. Very exciting. Full of surprises. Micah said, blowing warm air onto her hands. She probably should have added, and freezing cold, but she kept that part to herself, maybe not wanting to ruin the thrill of our reckless abandon. Let's get inside. It'll be warmer in there. Micah nodded, and we walked toward the already open door of the shop. The owner, a friend of Robin and JT's, was a guy they all called AJ. I didn't know his real name, but that didn't matter. Most musicians were like that, known by a nickname. I pushed open the glass door and walked in. AJ greeted me with a grin. Leo, long time no see. His eyes widened as he saw Micah behind me. And who is this young lady? This young lady, I grumbled, is a pain in the ass. She's the one who needs a guitar. Micah's attention was completely absorbed by the array of guitars, so she didn't even register me, calling her a pain. AJ just laughed. Don't bother explaining. I get it. If a girl this beautiful asked me for something, I'd pluck the moon out of the sky for her. I just smiled and walked over to Micah, looking at the guitars with her. She didn't seem to suffer from indecision. Her eyes quickly settled on a particular acoustic model. Leo, I want this one, she said. I looked it over. It was a Taylor. The back and sides were a deep, rich East Indian rosewood, and the fretboard and bridge were ebony. Even without a price tag, I could tell it was worth at least $3,000 or $4,000. AJ came over. You've got a good eye, he said to Micah. A friend of mine imported that from the States. It's the only one of its kind in any shop in Portland. His words only confirmed my fears. This one's a bit stiffly built, I said to Micah. Not really suitable for a girl. Why don't you look at some others? I like this one. Are you trying to get out of buying it for me? I wanted to scream that she was being unfair. I wanted to buy it for her, but I didn't have the money. Even with the cash she, Ava, and Jenna had given me, I was still short. Micah just stared at me with that cool, unreadable expression, but I could sense a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. Finally, I steel myself. Fine, we'll buy it. If you like it, it's yours. Her expression softened slightly. I took the guitar down from the wall and handed it to her. Try it out first. See how it sounds. Then I turned to AJ. You got a bathroom? I gotta take a leak. The alley is right there. Come on, let's go together. Without waiting for an answer, I slung an arm around his shoulders and steered him outside. Out in the deserted alley, as I relieved myself, I asked AJ, so what's the price on that guitar? AJ was a straight shooter. He didn't give me any bull about friend discounts. He just named a number. 4,000. I immediately stopped midstream. What the hell? Is it made of gold? AJ laughed. Leo, you know your stuff. You know what a guitar like that costs. I didn't answer, feeling a flush of embarrassment. AJ was still smiling. When JT called, he made it clear you weren't hurting for cash. Said you wouldn't even mention a discount. I didn't believe him at first, but when I saw you walk in with a girl that beautiful, I believed him instantly. You'd have to be loaded to be with a girl like that. He thought for a moment and added, actually, even with money, you're probably punching above your weight. That got under my skin. I unbuckled my belt and whipped it out, making a move like I was going to lash him with it. He instinctively flinched, his decade-old ponytail whipping through the air. Leo, hey, let's talk this out. Don't get violent. We're civilized people here. You look like you get arrested for disturbing the peace. Don't talk to me about being civilized. You and that ridiculous ponytail. AJ was genuinely rattled by my sudden mood swing. No wonder you and Robin are so tight. You both have the same goddamn terrifying temper. I threaded my belt back through my jeans. I had been half joking, but what he said about me not being good enough for Micah, even with money, had truly stung. But I also knew the truth. It wasn't that I was too ordinary, it was that she was too unrealistically perfect. Leo, AJ said, if you're really short on cash, I have a proposal. I'm listening. Your guitar. I'm not just saying this. I'm seriously in love with it. How about you trade me your guitar for this one? I'll take a small loss. It's no big deal. He looked at me with hopeful eyes. Ava had paid $2,000 for my custom guitar back in the day. If I traded it for this Taylor, AJ would indeed be losing a couple thousand. But for a musician, a guitar you truly connect with is worth more than money. That's why he was making the offer. I was torn. That guitar had been with me for years. It was a memorial to my past, a tribute. Was I really going to end it all now? I took a deep breath and smiled to myself. Why keep carrying those scars around on a guitar, torturing myself forever? Fine, I said to AJ. It's a deal, but I don't want to take advantage of you. I'll throw in $1,000 on top. AJ was ecstatic. Just the trade is enough. Forget the 1,000. I'm serious. I love the craftsmanship of your guitar. It's a work of art. I didn't say anything. I just pulled the cash out of my pocket, counted out $1,000, and stuffed it into his hand, giving him a look that said, shut up and take it. He tried to refuse. I pushed it back in his hand forcefully. A deal's a deal. Let's do this right. After a long pause, I added, it'll have a good home with you. AJ finally relented and put the money in his pocket. A gentleman shouldn't covet another man's possessions, but I just couldn't help myself. Don't worry, I'll take good care of it. I'll treasure it. I forced a smile. It's not like you're taking anything from me. Maybe that guitar never really belonged to me in the first place. Back in the shop, Micah was still strumming the guitar, clearly in love with it. You sure you want this one? I asked. MMHMM. It feels great to play, and the sound is amazing. I turned to AJ. Box it up for us. Micah handed the guitar to AJ, who quickly packed it into its case and handed the case to me. I smiled and passed it right back to Micah. From now on, this guitar belongs to you. Thank you, Leo. I patted her shoulder to say don't mention it, then said goodbye to AJ, ready to leave. But Micah suddenly remembered something. Leo, did you pay for the guitar? AJ patted his now bulging pocket. He just paid me. Oh, Micah said, not noticing that the bulging pocket only contained $1,000. AJ's gesture was something I'd coached him on before we went back inside, making him promise not to tell her I'd traded my guitar for hers. And since Micah probably didn't know the true value of this one, it was easy to pull off the deception. The night was now profoundly deep. It's getting really late, I said to Micah. I'll just take you home. Your car will be fine in the bar's parking lot. Micah shook her head. I want to go to the bar. What for? It's closed. I really want to play this guitar to feel the vibe of the 5th season. I looked at her. The anticipation on her face was real, like a child with a new toy they couldn't wait to show off. I figured tomorrow was the weekend, and once again, I chose to indulge her. Fine, I said, but only for a little while. It's not good for women to stay up this late. Okay, by the way, your guitar is at the bar too, right? I froze for a second before nodding. I want you to sing with me. We'll play our guitars and sing together. Can we? It was the first time Micah had ever asked me to sing a duet with her. But with an audience of only ourselves, it felt more like a farewell concert. Maybe this was a fitting way to say goodbye to the guitar that had brought me so much joy and so much heartbreak. Maybe this was a good ending after all. On the way back, Micah sat behind me. The new guitar case strapped her back. I pushed the motorcycle to top speed, but the case seemed to act like a sail catching the wind. Micah wrapped her arms around me even tighter. For the second time that night, I felt myself melting but I was afraid of drowning in the feeling. I gunned the engine even faster. We still had to cross 5 city blocks, but the time, at least, would be shorter. When we got back to the bar, the neon sign for the 5th season was still glowing, but the doors were locked. The night was serene. I liked this peacefulness, and I liked the hazy glow of the neon. The desire to sing grew stronger. Maybe I really should thank Micah for this idea, because the night, besides being for sleep, could also be for letting go. I took out my key, unlocked the door, and pushed the motorcycle inside. At the same time, Micah flipped on the lights. The 5 seasons of the bar, each with its own charm, lit up to welcome us, making us feel like the most brilliant gems of the night. "Leo," Micah asked, "do you think we should have all the lights on, or would it be better if it were a little dimmer?" "Dimmer is better, as long as I can see your face. But then you can't see the beauty of the 5 seasons." I smiled. These 5 seasons are already burned into my heart. Just give me an outline, and my mind will fill in the rest. "Oh, then let's go with dimmer." Micah had turned off the main lights, leaving only a few of the stage effect lights on. As I predicted, all I could really see clearly was her face. We sat cross-legged in the middle of the small stage, each holding a guitar. I couldn't think of what to sing, so I lit a cigarette. The swirling smoke, mixed with the flashing lights, made the world around me even hazier, so hazy it felt unreal, like a dream. Lost in thought, I didn't notice Micah had started playing her guitar. A familiar melody filled the air. It was Fire and Rain. I stared at her, feeling like I could already see the outcome. That song was a tear-jerker for her. She would cry even when others sang it, let alone when she sang it herself. But once again, I had misjudged this woman. She didn't cry. She was calm, yet her voice was full of deep emotion. During the instrumental break after the chorus, she smiled at me. "Leo, sing with me, okay?" "Oh, okay." I snapped out of my trance, quickly strumming my guitar to catch up to her rhythm, and joined in. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you again. Because she was calm, I was calm too. We finished the song in that shared tranquility. The smoke I'd exhaled gradually dissipated, and the world around me came back into focus, but it still felt unreal. "I really feel like this is all a dream," I finally said to her. "Why do you say that?" "Maybe because it's so dark. And you didn't cry during that song. That makes me even more certain I'm dreaming." Micah smiled. "Want me to hit you so you can see?" I quickly leaned back. "Don't. I don't want to wake up. This is a good dream." Micah set her guitar down, wrapped her arms around her knees, and gently tapped her toes on the floor. She was still smiling as she said, "You know, whenever I sing that song by myself, I feel like my dad is watching me from his world. So I make sure to sing it quietly for him, because he was a person who liked peace and quiet. He didn't like it when I cried, either." Her words saddened me. Whenever she talked about her father, she became this gentle, obedient little girl. I didn't want the mood to get too heavy, so I tried to joke. "How do you know he's not watching when other people sing it?" Micah glanced at me. "So many people sing that song in karaoke bars every day. Could he possibly watch all of them? He's a busy man." "Good point." Micah nodded and continued. "And even if someone like you sang it, would he even want to watch?" "I think I sing it pretty well," I said, defending myself. "It's not about how well you sing. It's because he hated people like you the most." I smiled and finished her sentence for her. "Hated parasites like me who do nothing all day, right?" Micah looked at me, neither confirming nor denying it. After a long pause, she asked, "But you'll change, won't you?" "What do you want me to change into?" "A war man." Her words sparked a strange feeling inside me, a feeling that grew into a kind of strength. "Then hold me now," I said, "and see if I'm warm enough." Micah looked at me with a complex expression. We had embraced before, but I had always been the one to initiate it. I had never asked her to hold me. But this time, the reason seemed so legitimate, so I felt no fear. So I pressed on, tempting her. "It's not like you're throwing yourself at me. We're just checking to see if I meet your warmth standard. It's purely scientific, okay?" Micah thought for a moment and finally said, "Then open your arms." I quickly spread my arms, but in the instant they were fully open, my face flushed and my heart pounded. In a moment, she would be curled up in my embrace. Micah closed her eyes and gently rested her head on my shoulder, but her hands kept their distance from me. This didn't feel like a hug. It was more like she was listening to my heartbeat. I mustered up my courage and stammered, "Your hands. Hold me with your hands, too." Micah didn't respond to that, but she did say, "Leo, your heart is beating so fast." Ahem. I coughed to cover my panic, but I couldn't hide my racing heart. It only beat faster. I was at a complete loss. What is wrong with me? I thought. I've been in bed with strange women and never felt this pathetic. In my flustered state, I finally found a halfway decent excuse. My heart is beating fast to be more active. If it's active, it can reach the temperature you were talking about. I waited anxiously for her reply. She just gave a soft but her hands finally wrapped around me. In the dead of night, we held each other again. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. I wanted to hear her heartbeat, too, but it didn't feel right. When it came to feeling heartbeats, men and women were not on equal footing. For example, when Micah touched my chest, it was called sensing. If I touched her chest, it would be called groping. Unless one day we became a couple, or even husband and wife, that inequality would remain. But I really wanted to know, if her heart wasn't racing, I would be so disappointed. So I lowered my expectations and decided to just look at her face. But in the dim light, with her head resting on my chest, her face was shrouded in shadow. I couldn't even see her expression. Sigh. Maybe we were just destined to be unequal. By now, she must have felt my racing heart, a clear sign of my feelings for her. But what about her? She seemed as calm and quiet as an unopened lily. Micah stayed curled up in my arms. The closeness was genuinely generating warmth between us, and my heart gradually calmed down, sinking into a state of blissful infatuation. Leo, your heart stopped. Micah had apparently been monitoring my pulse the whole time. Her words startled me so much I quickly checked my own wrist. The pulse was steady. I was still alive. Before I could speak, she corrected herself. Don't be nervous. I mean, it slowed down. What do I have to be nervous about? You're the one who should be nervous. If my heart really did stop, would you be scared? Micah pulled away from me, looked at me, and nodded. I smiled and shook my head. You're such a scaredy cat. She looked away, and after a long moment, said softly, I'm not afraid of facing a dead body. I'm afraid of a world without you in it. The world suddenly grew even quieter, so quiet I could hear her heartbeat, my heartbeat. I felt the carefully constructed fortress around my heart begin to crack, threatening to collapse entirely. But I just laughed and asked, do you care about me? That much? If she had nodded then, I would have pulled her back into my arms. Even if she had just asked, what about you? Do you care about me? I would have said, I do, I care a lot, and then held her. But she didn't answer. Instead, her phone buzzed, shattering the silence and snapping me back to reality. Micah pulled her phone from her pocket. It was a WhatsApp voice note. I heard CC's voice. Hey, sweetie, are you asleep? Micah replied, not yet. What's up? New Year's is coming up. I was wondering where you're celebrating this year. As Micah was about to answer, I pressed my hand over her phone, stopping her. Don't answer CC yet, I said. I have something to tell you. Micah looked at me, confused. What is it? The warden said, if you're lonely for the holidays, you should come back to Indianapolis with me. Our family's New Year's is really lively. I looked at her, my expression earnest. But hesitation flickered across her face. Thank you for the kind offer, she said after a moment. But this year, I'm going to the States for the holidays. Aber's been waiting for me to finish up with work here. My heart plunged into an ice cavern. It took a while for me to recover. I tried to sound casual. So, he struck out in this country, and now he's planning to try again on his home turf? Against the S is his home field advantage. Micah ignored my joke. His mother was very good to me. She took great care of me in the States, and I have some other American friends. I haven't been back in a long time. I miss them. Her words made it clear. She was going, and there was no way I could stop her. So why did my chest feel so tight, so unbearably heavy? In my silence, Micah finally replied to CC. I'm going to the States for the holidays this year. CC's reply came back quickly. Oh, I thought you were staying in Portland. What about you? Are you going back home? My parents are traveling for the holidays, so I'm just staying in Portland this year. Micah thought for a moment. Why don't you come to the States with me? It could be a nice little vacation. A part of me desperately hoped CC would say yes. If she were with Micah, at least I'd get updates. But CC's reply was a disappointment. Thanks, sweetie, but I think I'll pass. I was thinking of going to Seattle to see Robin and Chloe. It feels more like the holidays when you're in the country. Okay, well, have a happy new year in advance. You too, sweetie. Be happy. And just like that, their conversation ended. My world felt cold and empty. My interest in everything vanished, except for smoking. I pulled another cigarette from the pack and lit it. This time, Micah didn't seem to mind the smoke, a silent echo of how Avi used to be. But I moved away from her anyway, sitting on a bar stool in another corner. I'd completely forgotten that I'd wanted to sing up Where We Belong with her. Micah packed her new guitar into its case. I knew it was a signal that we should leave, that our night together was over. Sure enough, she said to me, Leo, I'm leaving. Are you coming? We're not going the same way. You go ahead. Micah nodded. She walked to the door, then paused and looked back at me. It's very late. You should go home too. I forced a smile. I'm just going to look over today's accounts. It'll only take a minute. Could you turn on the bar light for me? Micah flipped on the light for me, gave me one last look, and then left the bar, the new guitar on her back. My chest felt heavy. I crushed out my cigarette and immediately lit another. I opened the POS system on the counter and started going through the day's numbers. The night was so deep it was almost dawn. After I finished the accounts, I went back to the small stage and sat on the floor, my only companion the guitar that was soon to be no longer mine. I was tired, so I lay down next to it, but my mind was suddenly wide awake. Seeing the guitar, I thought of Ava. If we had stayed together, what would our lives be like now? I didn't know, but I remembered how we used to treat love like a religion, loving each other with a desperate madness. I knew that in that failed love, I lost my faith and gained only despair. I could no longer pursue the next love with that same pure, burning passion. Wait, did I even believe in love anymore? I had no answer. There was no love in my world now. The only person I'd gotten together with, Liz, had felt less like love and more like a safe harbor from a life that had exhausted me. I sat up, took out my phone, and took a picture of the guitar that had been with me for so many years, a final memento. I held it in my hands one last time, gently strumming the strings. I couldn't hold back. As dawn approached, I sang Pearl Jam's Rearview Mirror, my voice raw and desperate in the empty room. But who would I elope with? My life was just me, tasting solitude. The next day, I slept until noon. I didn't even want to eat. I was planning to sleep through the afternoon, but a call from AJ woke me up. He was impatient, wanted me to bring him the guitar. I told him I wasn't even out of bed. He said he'd come to my place to get it. I couldn't understand it. I doubted he had this much desire for his own wife at night. But I agreed to let him come. I got up, and just after I washed my face before I could even make myself a bowl of ramen, AJ was at my door. As soon as I opened it, his eyes locked onto the guitar case leaning against my sofa. He ran over to it, a huge grin on his face, and picked it up like a priceless treasure. Leo, you're not going to back out, are you? JT told me this was a gift from your first love. Before I could answer, he added, a man's word is his bond. You can't back out now. I tore the lid off a cup of instant ramen and poured hot water in. Do I look like the kind of person who backs out of a deal? Take the guitar, and then get out of my sight and never show your face here again. AJ gave an awkward laugh. We're both musicians. We know what a guitar you've had for years means to a person. I shouldn't have coveted your possession, but I just love this guitar so much. You said the same thing yesterday. I cut him off. Can you please shut your yapping mouth for 5 seconds? He ignored me and started fiddling with the guitar again, unable to put it down. Suddenly, he packed it into its case. Leo, I've got some things to do at the shop. I'm just going to take this now. Sorry, man. And with that, he was gone, moving so fast he was like a blur, almost as fast as my old landlord, Mr. Henderson, used to be. Watching AJ's back as he left with the guitar, my heart suddenly felt hollowed out. The emptiness was so abrupt, I was completely unprepared for it. I could see it again, that deep winter, me singing at CC's restaurant, Ava staying by my side no matter how late it got, me always using this guitar to make her laugh. Life was hard then, but my heart was full. Now, I had finally lost the guitar, and it felt like that fullness had drained away with it. I was so empty, I felt like nothing more than a shell. But who could save the shriveled soul inside that shell now? No one could save me. I had to save myself. I quickly lit a cigarette, but in the swirling smoke, I thought of Micah, thought of her leaving for America with Abner, and my heart felt even emptier. So empty, I felt like I'd lost my soul. So empty that I didn't even notice the ramen in front of me had turned to mush. Not until the door to my apartment opened. Not until Micah was standing in front of me, dragging a suitcase behind her. Only then did I snap out of my daze and wake up. Micah set down her suitcase and glanced at the cup of instant ramen on the table. Is this what you're having for lunch? It's easy, I said, my eyes drifting to her suitcase. Are you here to pack? Yeah, just need to grab a few things. My flight's tomorrow afternoon. My already foul mood curdled. I didn't want to talk anymore. I just picked up the now soggy ramen and started forcing it down. Micah watched me for a moment, then, saying nothing more, dragged her suitcase toward her room. Watching her disappear from view, I suddenly lost my appetite. I grabbed a jacket, threw it on, and decided to walk downstairs. I needed a pack of smokes. Outside, the sun was generous, spilling warm light onto the pavement. The wind had a winter chill, but it stirred the white clouds in the blue sky. The beauty of it all felt like a balm on my wrecked soul. I bought a pack of cigarettes and sat down on the coin-operated pony right outside the 7-11. I didn't want to think about anything. I just sank into the familiar, decadent feeling of letting things slide. Annoyed with myself, I fumbled in my pocket for a quarter, fed it into the slot, and let the mechanical horse rock me back and forth. A few minutes later, it stopped. I put in another quarter, and another. I ignored the looks from passers-by, some mocking, some just confused. As I swayed, I lit another cigarette, habitually peeling the cellophane from the pack and holding up to my eyes, gazing at the sky. Through the crinkled plastic, I thought I saw it again, the silhouette of the city in the sky. A jolt of excitement went through me. I strained to see her, the woman in the city, but all I could make out was hair falling to her shoulders. I couldn't see her face. A sense of panic grew in me. I was afraid that if I lost this fleeting chance, I'd never see the city or the woman in it again. I wanted to stand up on the rocking horse to get a better look, but a voice in my ear shattered the illusion. The city in the sky faded, and Micah's face came into sharp focus. She waved a hand in front of my eyes. "Leo, what are you doing?" "Riding the pony," I said, feeding another quarter into the slot. The horse started rocking again to the tinny tune of a nursery rhyme. "Is there a weight limit?" "Nah, I do this all the time." "Oh, can I have a turn?" I pointed to the pony next to mine. "Go sit on that one. I got a few more quarters." Micah set down her suitcase and climbed onto the other horse. I tossed her a quarter. "Just stick it in the slot there." She nodded, slid the coin in, and her horse began to rock and sing. I didn't pay her any more attention. I just kept smoking, swaying to the rhythm, lost in my own thoughts. Leo, can I have another quarter?" Micah asked after a while. I nodded and tossed her one. I thought about putting one in my own machine, but stopped. I knew she'd just asked for another, and I only had 2 left. Seeing how much fun she was having, I figured I'd just let her have them. Sure enough, a few minutes later, she asked again. This time I just tossed her both remaining quarters. She said, "Thanks," and started riding again. That's when a strange thing happened. All those looks of derision from strangers softened into kind smiles. I didn't get it at first. Then I looked at Micah, and it clicked. A grown man riding a mechanical pony is a freak. A beautiful woman doing it is whimsical. See? That's the kind of inequality that's always been between us. So why should I, with my pathetic soul, beg her to stoop to my level? If she wants to go to America, let her go. I don't have to be miserable about it. "Leo, what are you thinking about?" Micah asked. "Just ride your horse. Don't worry about me." She hopped off the pony and walked over to me. "Let me buy you dinner. You barely touched that ramen." "I just came down for cigarettes. I'll go back up and eat." "Wouldn't dinner be better? That cup of ramen is a soggy mess by now." "Really, it's fine. You got a flight to catch tomorrow. You should go get some rest." Micah finally gave up, but she pulled out her phone and snapped a picture of me sitting on the pony, smoking. She picked up her suitcase. "Okay, I'm heading out." "Delete that picture," I said, my face clouding over. "Make me," she shot back. "Besides, you stole my picture, remember?" I tried to jump off the pony but stumbled, catching myself before I fell. By then, Micah was already in her car, pulling into traffic and disappearing from sight. I couldn't even manage to curse. I just stared, dazed, in the direction she'd gone. A wave of melancholy washed over me. It would be a long time before I saw her again. And a colder feeling followed. The life she was about to start in America, with Abner right there. She might just get swept up in it. In this fast-paced world, a month can change everything. Back in the apartment, I finished the bowl of mushy ramen and collapsed in a bed. I had a nightmare. In it, Micah was back from America, but she was wearing a wedding ring and inviting me to her wedding to Abner. I woke up with a start, wiping the sweat from my forehead. The dream had left me feeling weak and breathless. I stumbled to the kitchen and poured a glass of water, gulping it down to calm the suffocating feeling in my chest. After finishing the water, I looked out the window. The sky had already gone dark. In the distance, streetlights cast their cheap, familiar glow, teasing the dull earth. But the warmth of a million distant windows rendered their taunts meaningless. So the streetlights grew bolder, and the earth slowly learned to endure. But who could understand the helplessness and pain beneath that submission? I slapped my cheeks to wake myself up and threw on some clothes. It was time to head to the bar. Driving through the congested streets, the city suddenly felt hollow without Micah. It was as if her laugh, her tears, her joy, her pain. That's what gave this city its charm. And then it hit me. It wasn't that the city lacked charm. It was that she had become my entire city. At the bar, CC and I found a corner table. We smoked and talked. CC scanned the room. "Leo, we're at almost 70% capacity tonight. That's way better than I expected." I nodded. Business was better than we'd hoped, but we still needed to push. 70% was just a baseline. CC flicked the ash from her cigarette. "Micah's leaving for the States tomorrow. You know that, right?" "I know. She came by my place today to get some clothes." CC smirked. "Hurts to see her go. Not really, I lied. I heard someone was thinking of inviting her to Indianapolis for the holidays. Damn it, CC. Can you stop with the cryptic bullshit? Who else would have a connection to Indianapolis? After my outburst, CC gloated. Yeah, well, she's going to America with Abner instead. I swear to God, I'll strangle you, I said, glaring at her. My reaction just made her shake her head and sigh. Leo, do you have any idea how Micah feels about you? My heart hammered against my ribs. I stared at CC, frozen. If she was asking, it meant Micah must have told her something. I desperately wanted to know the truth, but I was terrified to hear it, because the truth could be a world of pain. I kept staring at CC, my heart pounding faster. She didn't seem to care and was about to tell me exactly how Micah felt. I quickly held up a hand, stopping her. CC looked surprised. What? You don't want to hear it. I lit a cigarette first, then said, okay, you can tell me now. CC smiled. You seem to care a lot about how she feels. I've never denied that I like her, I said, exhaling a thick cloud of smoke. CC nodded. The thing is, she doesn't really know how she feels about you, either. I looked up at her, 1,000 emotions swirling inside me. It was a long time before I finally managed to speak. I know. That's why she's always so hot and cold with me. Exactly. She told me she misses you when you're not around, but gets annoyed the second she sees you. I felt a surge of both sweetness and despair, and finally managed a helpless laugh. Go on. She said you take her to race go-karts, make her play biker chick on your motorcycle, get her to ride a mechanical pony. All these things that are totally childish, but she can't resist them. She told you all that. Duh. What do you think best friends are for? We talk about everything, from the style of our underwear to our relationships. Even bigger stuff like current events. So what style of underwear does she wear? I blurted out. CC shot me a glare. Be serious, or we can't have this conversation. I straightened up and nodded. Every guy puts her on this pedestal, like she's some kind of goddess. But she's just a woman. She has all the same needs as any other woman. She wants to be loved and protected by a man. Actually, scratch that. She craves it more than most. I nodded in agreement. People from broken homes always have a deeper need for security. CC continued. And you? Your heart probably hasn't completely let go of Ava. And you got that foul temper. I bet you've lost it on her more than a few times, right? Her words made me feel even more ashamed. I know I'm not good enough for her, I mumbled. Bad temper, no money. You really think she's a woman who cares about money? It's hard to say. Material possessions are pretty much the only standard women use to measure men these days. That's complete bullshit. Am I not a woman? If Robin wanted to be with me, I'd be happy wandering the streets with him. If he's broke, I'll support him for the rest of his life. You're one of a kind. How many women do you see who drink and smoke like you do? CC shook her head. Leo, if you really believe that, you're a bigger disappointment than I thought. You're just a pseudo-idealist. Let me tell you something. If Micah really cared about material things, she could have a line of moguls and trust fund kids queuing up to date her in a heartbeat. I felt like my ability to think logically had short-circuited, so I stayed silent. CC was quiet for a long time, too. Then she said, think about how you can change. No matter how you slice it, the word warmth is not something anyone associates with you, Leo. You're a wolf lost in the dark, and you don't know which way is home. A woman might be drawn to your wildness and independence, but she'll also be terrified to get close. Because there's no safety with you. I looked up at CC again, and I felt like I was finally starting to understand Micah's conflicted feelings toward me. I remember the first time we met in that old apartment. What a pathetic wreck I'd been. So how do I change? CC thought for a moment. You had that woman in Indianapolis, the one who was almost your fiancée, right? Just think about what your mindset was when you were with her. I thought back to my time with Liz, the way I felt, the details of our relationship. I wanted to work hard, buy a house, buy a car, and then marry her and have kids. Exactly. Now swap out Liz for Micah and keep that same mindset. Isn't that the change you need? I muttered to myself. I'll work hard for Micah. I'll buy a house and a car for Micah. I'll marry Micah and she'll have my children. I couldn't go on. I looked at CC, pleading. CC, why does that feel so weird? It sounds like some kind of pipe dream you have after getting wasted. Does it? You're always feeling so insecure around her, right? So work on your career. When you reach a certain level, will it still feel so weird? And what's wrong with Micah being your wife and having your kids? Isn't that what women do? I stared at CC's serious face for a long time. I need to process this. There's nothing to process. It's simple. Ditch your bullshit, keep the good parts, and become a reliable, decent man. Give Micah a home. Otherwise, I'm going to have a serious talk with her about giving Abner a real shot. From where I'm standing, he's a hell of a lot better than you. CC, don't say that. I'm fundamentally a good guy. She just gave me a dismissive look. I honestly don't get what these women see in you. You're a mess. When it comes to ideals, you're not as committed as Robin. When it comes to reality, you can't compare to Ben or Nathan. It's a miracle you've even survived, stuck in the middle like you are. Once again, CC's words left me feeling utterly exposed. But the thought of building a family with Micah still felt unreal. Deep-seated beliefs don't just vanish after a single conversation. CC, seeing my hesitation, pressed on, frustrated. Leo, just tell me what you're thinking right now. This time, I didn't hesitate. The answer was almost subconscious. Honestly, I'm more interested in what she's thinking right now. She's just as insecure as you are. She's afraid you can't love her with your whole heart. She's scared to see you, but she's also scared not to see you. She's not like you. She has no real experience with relationships. Logically, she should just throw caution to the wind. But she's also smarter and more rational than most women, which is why you get that hot and cold feeling. You have to understand, though, she's a woman who absolutely cannot get hurt again. So, does she like me? Like, as more than a friend? CC nodded approvingly. Finally, you asked the right question. She was at my restaurant all afternoon today. We talk a lot. The truth is, she's going to America to get away from you for a while, to figure out what she really feels. She's scared it's just habit or dependency, not real romantic love. And what if it is? What if it isn't? We'll deal with that when she gets back. Right now, I don't think even she has the answer. I fell silent again. After finishing a cigarette, I turned back to CC. One last question. How does she feel about Abner? Why did she turn him down when he first asked her out? She must have told you. CC nodded. She wants to see Abner, but she isn't afraid to see him. That's the difference between him and you. But you have to understand this. She's terrified of seeing you, yet she still finds every excuse to do it. If that isn't a kind of love, what is? Did you really think she needed to keep her clothes in that old apartment? It was just a reason to come find you. God, she's so stupidly adorable, it's heartbreaking. I didn't say a word, but a powerful impulse surged through me. I had to go find Micah. Leo, CC started, if Micah likes you, it's not for no reason. You have your good points. You have a sense of justice. You even sacrificed your career to help her. And even though you're unreliable, you still have a sense of responsibility. You're a man who stands tall and has a clear conscience. I just hope. Her voice started to fade into the background. I grabbed my car keys from the table and bolted for the door. CC yelled after me, Leo, where are you going? I'm going to find her, I shouted back. Right now. CC chased me outside and grabbed my arm. She went straight to Seattle after she left my restaurant. How are you going to find her in Portland? I froze, dumbfounded. Still, I couldn't let it go. But her flight isn't until tomorrow afternoon. Right. So, she went to Seattle tonight to avoid the rush tomorrow morning. It felt like a bucket of ice water being poured over my head in the dead of winter. But the desire to see Micah didn't die. In a low voice, I said, I'll go to Seattle and find her. You'd have to at least contact her, find out which hotel she's at, CC said, pulling out her phone and dialing Micah's number. After a moment, she shrugged helplessly. It's off. She's probably already asleep. I stood there in a daze, lit a cigarette, and took a few hard drags. My mind slowly began to calm. I asked myself, what if I did find her right now? What would I say? Probably nothing. We'd just end up in an awkward silence. Besides, if Micah really liked me, it would be a stretch to say it now. Otherwise, she wouldn't be going to America with Abner. A mature love isn't built on impulse. It's better to just quietly wait for that gentle wind to blow. CC dragged me back into the bar. The fire of my impulse was finally extinguished, but the desire to drink flared up. I downed a bottle of beer without stopping and then asked CC, you didn't want me to go find her just now, did you? CC nodded. You would have just put her in a difficult position. Because she is definitely going to America, I wasn't going to try and stop her. I just suddenly wanted to see her. Exactly. You said it yourself. Suddenly. I'd rather your relationship be based on reason, not impulse. And besides, impulse isn't what Micah wants either. I drained another half bottle of beer. CC, maybe you're right. She patted my shoulder. Don't worry too much. If Micah was willing to start something with Abner, they would have been a couple years ago when they were classmates. This trip to America, besides needing to clear her head, is mainly about seeing her old friends over there. I didn't answer. I just leaned back on the sofa, staring blankly at the ceiling as Micah's face appeared in my mind, refusing to leave. It was late when I got home. I washed up, not wanting my mind to race, and turned on the TV to try and distract myself. I channel surfed aimlessly until I landed on an interview show. I saw Chloe on the screen, though she wasn't the main guest. She was mostly just a supporting player, chiming in occasionally. The conversation revolved around that recent tabloid scandal. Chloe handled it like a pro, claiming the actor was just a senior colleague she admired. It made me realize she was slowly adapting to that world. My thoughts turned back to myself, to the conversation with CC at the bar. I looked back on my time in Portland since I'd returned and felt like I hadn't adapted to real life at all. In fact, I had strayed far from it. In all this time, I never once sat down and thought seriously about how I was going to survive in this city. Including the wasted years after graduation, I'd been living in this city for nearly 4 years. By now, I should be like Ben, with a stable job, my own apartment, and a woman to keep me company at night. But I still had nothing. No wonder every time I felt an impulse toward Micah, I crushed it myself. I simply lacked the confidence. With what I had now, how could I dare to think about marrying her and having her bear my children? In that moment, I was actually glad I hadn't seen Micah tonight. Instead of seeing her on an impulse, I should be thinking about how to plan my future. A responsible man has to understand. Before you ask a woman for her love, you have to look at what you can give her. A few ignorant impulses and empty promises are far from enough. After all, my relationship with Ava had died precisely because promises weren't kept and passion faded. So I started planning my life, though I didn't dare to plan too far ahead. Once the bar was on stable ground, I'd face a choice. Should I stay in Portland or go back to Indianapolis? Right now, I didn't have a strong preference. Staying in Portland was fine, but going back to be with my parents seemed even better. But no matter which city I chose, I needed to save up money for a down payment, and I needed a career. If I stayed in Portland, I'd continue to grow the bar. If I went back to Indianapolis, I'd find a stable job. In the quiet of the night, I set these short-term goals for myself. The final decision of where to live would depend on her. If there was no chance of love between us, I had no reason to stay in Portland. If we started dating, I was still willing to build a life here for her, to settle down in Portland and be with her. With that thought, my mind finally calmed. Having set a short-term goal, I had a little more hope for the future and a lot more motivation. The next day, I woke up close to noon. I reached for my phone to check the time and was surprised to see a WhatsApp message. It was from Micah. The message was simple, a smug-looking emoji and the words, "On my way to the airport." I couldn't figure it out. So what if you're going to the airport? Why the smug emoji? What was there to be proud of? Was she mocking me because I'd never been out of the country? I smiled and texted back, "Have a safe flight. By the way, how long are you planning on staying in the States?" After sending it, I checked the time. It wasn't even noon yet. If her flight was in the afternoon, she'd still be at the airport, and her phone would most likely be on. So I waited, forgetting to even wash up. My phone finally rang. I grabbed it from the coffee table, my heart sinking a little. It wasn't a reply from Micah. It was a call from Jenna. I answered, my voice flat. "What's up? Is that any way to talk to your big sister?" Jenna complained. "My apologies, big sister. What's up?" Jenna laughed on the other end. "Come over for lunch. Mr. Clark and Rick are here too. We can have a few drinks. It's been too long since we all got together." "Sounds good." I agreed immediately. Besides catching up, I wanted to talk to them, to see how things were at Aria Grande. I was hoping they could help ease some of the pressure on Micah. "What do you want to drink? Tell me, and I'll go buy it." Just as I was about to answer, a WhatsApp notification pinged on my phone. "Beer," I told Jenna. "Gotta go." I hung up before she could say another word and eagerly opened the message from Micah. Micah's reply seemed simple, at least on the surface. She wrote, "How long do you want me to stay in the U.S.?" I was confused. Was she asking for my opinion? After a moment, I texted back, "I'm sure you already have your own plans for how long you'll be there." This time, her reply came a few moments later. "You're right. Then why did you ask me?" Micah didn't continue that line of conversation. She just wrote back, "About a board. Turning my phone off. Bye." I put my phone back on the coffee table and leaned back on the sofa. I closed my eyes and immediately saw a picture of Micah and Abner, sitting in first class, laughing and talking. A wave of depression washed over me. I finally shook my head, rubbing my face hard to clear my thoughts, and went to the bathroom to wash up. When I got to Ben and Jenna's place, Mr. Clark and Rick were already there. Jenna had bought the beer and prepared a huge spread. I greeted Mr. Clark first. "Mr. Clark, driving an Audi sure makes you faster than a guy in a Chevy Spark." Mr. Clark laughed. "When are you going to grow out of that smart-ass mouth of yours, kid? You're just getting old, sir. You can't appreciate our youthful wit," I said with a grin. "Remember in college? I could tell Ben and his wife a random story from history and keep them entertained for a whole afternoon. They loved it. Right, Ben?" Before Ben could answer, Jenna slapped my arm. "Historical anecdotes? You make yourself sound like some kind of scholar. You probably heard those stories from some trashy documentary and passed them off as fact to fool us." Everyone laughed, and Ben herded us to the table. I poured Mr. Clark a beer and took the opportunity to ask, "So, Mr. Clark, you've been at Aria Grande for a while now. How is it?" Mr. Clark's expression turned serious. I'm still getting familiar with everything, but I'm already involved in the mall's management. Ms. Micah is a very open-minded CEO. She's not afraid to delegate. Ben chimed in. That's right. She gives her staff a lot of freedom to do their thing. It's pretty relaxed working for her. But the politics at Aria are deep, way deeper than at Polaris Retail. There were no outsiders here, so I asked bluntly, is it true her uncle, Declan, is trying to sideline her? Mr. Clark nodded. We'd heard rumors about Declan trying to oust her even when we were at Polaris. But after working with Ms. Micah these past few weeks, I don't think it will be that easy for him. Not only does she have a group of her late father's loyal allies on the board, but her own abilities are more than a match for Declan. Mr. Clark's words were a small relief. Ben added, I heard that on a personal level, Declan actually dotes on her. In the years she was abroad, he'd fly to the States every year for her birthday, no matter how busy he was. It's just, when it comes to ownership of Aria Grand, he won't compromise an inch, and neither will she, so their relationship is really strained. Ben's words made me understand why Micah had been so upset when I'd been disrespectful to Declan in front of her. They had a real uncle-niece relationship. It was just that their bond couldn't overcome the lust for power. But by rights, Aria Grand should be Micah's to inherit. Rick, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. Honestly, I think it would be a good choice for Ms. Micah to just walk away from the fight. Given how much Declan loves her, he'd make sure she's set for life. I mean, being a rich heiress has got to be better than being a high-powered career woman, right? That's bullshit. That's the mentality of a lazy woman who just wants to coast through life. I snapped at Rick. How could Micah give up Aria? It was her father's company. I was angry because he didn't understand Micah's feelings for her father. Rick gave a sheepish smile. Don't get so worked up. It's just my personal opinion. I'm just someone who likes a comfortable life, which is why I'll never reach her level. After lunch, Mr. Clark and Rick left. Jenna was in the kitchen cleaning up, leaving just Ben and me in the living room. We both lit cigarettes. Ben brought up the old topic again. Leo, have you thought any more about my offer to get you a job at Aria? Haven't really thought about it, I said honestly. Ben's tone was serious. After the headquarters moved to Seattle, there was a major internal shuffle. That's how Mr. Clark and I were able to get promotions. If you could grab this opportunity, it could be a really promising career. And Ms. Micah has mentioned to me more than once that she hopes you'll come work at Aria. I didn't say anything. I thought about my awkward relationship with Micah. I had already decided that if there was no chance for us, I'd go back to Indianapolis after the bar was stable. And if, by some miracle, she felt something for me and we became a couple, I still wouldn't go work at Aria. A man needs to have his own ambitions, not rely on his girlfriend for a living. So no matter the outcome, I wouldn't be joining Aria. Ben pressed me again. Can you give me an answer on this? If you came to Aria, we brothers could watch each other's backs. I finally shook my head. Don't bring this up again. Working at Aria just isn't realistic for me. After the bar is on its feet, I'll probably go back to Indianapolis. My roots are there. What? You still can't get over Liz. If there's a chance for you two to get back together, then I won't try to persuade you. That girl Liz is really dependable. I zoned out for a moment, remembering the peaceful months I spent with Liz. That kind of ease was something I'd never experienced in my relationships. It might have lacked passion, but wasn't that what real life was about? Maybe, for me, Liz was the woman who truly represented reality in a normal life. But in the end, I had let her go. After leaving Ben and Jenna's, I found myself sitting alone in Pioneer Courthouse Square, the same place where Micah and I had once goofed around. I watched the kids, now on winter break, playing in the square and felt a profound sense of loneliness. I lit a cigarette to chase it away. I took a long drag and looked up at the sky. Micah should be on a plane by now, flying to the other side of the world. I missed her. I just kept staring at the blue sky and white clouds for a long, long time until my phone rang. I pulled out of my pocket and saw that it was my mom. I was flooded with surprise and joy. Since coming back to Portland, I had called her many times, but she had never answered. She was still mad at me. Mom, I said, my voice thick with emotion. My mom was silent on the other end for a long time before her voice, choked with tears, came through. Are you doing okay in Portland? I was filled with guilt. No matter how angry she was still the person who cared about me most in the world. I forced a cheerful tone. I'm doing great. Don't you worry about me. You should take care of yourself. I don't need you to care about me, you brat. I could hear the complaint in her voice, but I could also hear that she was starting to forgive me for what I'd done. I'm your son, I said. If I don't care about you, who will? My mom finally laughed a little. Then she asked, are you coming back to Indianapolis for the holidays this year? Barring any surprises, I will. I miss you a lot. If you miss me, then come back. After a short pause, she added, Aunt Susan told me that since you and Liz broke up, she hasn't dated anyone. I was thinking maybe she still has feelings for you. When you come back this time, I could ask Aunt Susan to talk to her again. Girls have soft hearts. If you go and apologize, maybe she'll forgive you. You know, if you married Liz and stayed in Indianapolis, your father and I would be so relieved. Her words stunned me. Was she really trying to get me and Liz back together? And was it true that Liz hadn't been dating because she still had feelings for me? Or was this just my mom's wishful thinking? I sank into thought, and scenes of Liz's gentle, caring nature floated through my mind. I knew I was attached to her, but was it love? I thought of Cece's assessment of me. Not a pure idealist like Robin, not a pure realist like Ben. How painfully accurate that felt right now. If I had Robin's dedication to his ideals, I'd cast aside all doubt and chase after the woman with the long, flowing hair. If I had Ben's pragmatic acceptance of reality, I would have chosen Liz and settled down for a quiet life. But I was stuck in the middle, doomed to be indecisive when it came to love. Finally, I spoke to my mom, who had been waiting for an answer. Mom, don't worry about me and Liz anymore. Even if we forced ourselves to get back together, there's no guarantee it would work out. If something went wrong again, wouldn't that just hurt her even more? You're just a bastard. In the end, you just don't have romantic feelings for her. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hurt her like this. I didn't say anything. She was right, but also not entirely right. I just didn't know how to explain it to her. Leo, I've said what I needed to say. I just hope that one day, when you regret this, you don't blame your parents for not warning you. Mom, don't talk like that, okay? You make it sound like you're giving up on me. That's all, Leo. Either you find a girlfriend more dependable than Liz and bring her home for me to see, or you're on your own. Mom, don't hang up yet, I still want to talk. Before I could finish, she hung up. I stared at my phone for a moment, then sent her a text. Mom, do you still want me to come home for the holidays? Her reply came back instantly. Come back when you found a girl more dependable than Liz. I gave a bitter, helpless laugh. I gripped the phone in my bare hand for a long time, then looked up at the blinding sun, not even knowing what I should be thinking. I lay down on the bench, covering my eyes with one hand and shielding my face from the wind with the other, and tried to fall asleep, to sleep until evening. I don't know how long I slept, but I felt someone shaking me. I woke up groggily and saw the little kid, Wes. He was beaming. Big bro, I've been waiting for you in the square for days. I finally found you. You need something? I asked, sticking a cigarette in my mouth and lighting it. Wes nodded eagerly. I lost the phone number you gave me. I pulled a pen and paper from my bag and wrote my number down for him again. Okay, what's up? Wes grinned and pulled 2 crumpled $20 bills from his pocket. Yesterday, a lady came and gave Grandpa a lot of money. She said it was for the baskets he weaves. Grandpa gave me this money and told me to treat you and the judge lady to KFC. I knew the lady he was talking about was probably someone from Aria Grande. A wave of sadness hit me. Micah was already high in the sky, flying farther and farther away from us. I forced a smile. Your judge lady is gone, Wes. She doesn't want to play with us anymore. Wes's face fell. But I really wanted to treat her to KFC, he mumbled. Big bro, can you call her? You both have phones. I took a deep drag from my cigarette and looked up at the sky. After a moment, I pointed upwards. She's on a plane. The phone can't reach that high. Wes looked like he was about to cry. I patted his shoulder. Hey, if she doesn't want to hang out with us, we don't have to hang out with her. We'll just eat by ourselves. We'll get to eat more that way. Okay, then. Just the 2 of us. We can eat a lot. Wes was a kid, after all. Micah's departure wouldn't affect him for long. But me? I acted like I didn't care, but deep down, I probably cared a lot. Still, I nodded and grinned. You're right. With her, it's a crowd. Without her, it's perfect. KFC, let's go. Wes jumped for joy and, standing on his tiptoes in a comical pose, threw his arm around my shoulder as we headed for KFC. Inside, Wes and I each ordered a family bucket and had a pointless contest to see who could finish first. My appetite was shot, so I lost miserably. As a consolation prize, I bought him another bucket to take home to his grandpa. As I watched him run off, clutching the bucket of chicken like a trophy, I couldn't help but wonder, what is happiness? For Wes, maybe it was just eating KFC and then getting to share it with his grandpa. It was such a pure, simple happiness. Why couldn't I be happy with that? Maybe I wanted too much. Maybe I'd lost my childhood. Maybe I wasn't old enough yet. After leaving KFC, I went to the bar. Most of the offices in Portland were starting to close for the holidays, so our newly open bar was hitting a slow patch. Even so, we were still at 50% capacity, which was a huge improvement from before the remodel. I found a corner table, pulled out my tablet, and started scrolling through the Twitter posts customers had shared, evaluating the effectiveness of our social media campaign. A little while later, CC finished her set and sat down across from me. Leo, where are you spending the holidays this year? She asked, concerned. My mom's words, find a girl more dependable than Liz, flashed through my mind. Haven't decided yet, I mumbled. Why don't we all go to LA and see the big star and Robin? My parents aren't spending the holidays in Hawaii. I shot back. CC pinched my side. Are you always this much of an ass? You have to make a joke about that? You act like your parents are so precious with you. Hey, they are. They probably got dumplings and pork buns all ready for me. CC rolled her eyes. Fine. Since your parents cherish you so much, I won't try to convince you to come to LA. I forced a smile and nodded. In truth, I had no idea where I was going for the holidays. I could just show up at home, but if my mom was genuinely mad, I'd just be casting a pall over their celebration. I'd wait. Maybe the warden would call and tell me to come home. If I had him on my side, things would be easier. My flight is tomorrow morning, CC said. You should close the bar in a day or two and go home to be with your parents. I shook my head. The holidays are still over a week away. It's too early to close. Besides, our bartender and a few of the servers are from out of state and haven't been able to get tickets home yet. If the bar stays open, they'll have a place to work and earn some money. Okay, it'll be tough on you for the next few days then. I nodded, waving it off. Your flight is early tomorrow. You should go home and get some rest. CC patted my shoulder, said, see you next year, and left. I checked the time. It was 10 o'clock. I could probably leave soon, too. We had a manager on duty. I didn't need to be there for the entire shift. I wanted to go sit by the Willamette. With my friends leaving one by one, I felt a deep loneliness, and the river was the only cure. I'd smoke a cigarette, watch the water flow, and forget about a lot of things. I drove my beat-up Chevy Spark through the night until I reached the river. It was the same familiar spot on the East Bank Esplanade, but this time, I was completely alone. That was fine. I was used to being alone here, and I wasn't truly alone. I had cigarettes, the bare trees, and the cold wind for company. I pulled a cigarette from the pack, put it in my mouth, and patted my pockets. My lighter. I'd left it on the table at the bar. I cursed under my breath. It wasn't worth driving all the way back into the city just for a light. But without a cigarette, the loneliness was like a poison. I thought of Ava. If she were here, she would have lit my cigarette with that blue lighter of hers. But that was just a what-if. She was probably gone from Portland by now. Otherwise, why wasn't she at Jenna's for lunch today? I forced myself to abandon the craving for a cigarette and laid down on the dead grass, staring up at the sky. My eyes filled with the sight of twinkling stars, but my mind was a blank. It was so quiet here, I could hear my own heartbeat and the rustle of dead leaves in the wind. I finally couldn't stand the smokeless misery and just started singing, belting out a song so loud the whole world shrank until it was just me. Leo, is that you? The voice was so soft, I thought I'd imagined it. But then she was standing right beside me. It was Ava. What are you still doing in Portland? Why are you here? The surprise made me fire off 2 questions at once. I've been in Portland the whole time. The ad agency is coming together. The pressure has been a lot lately, so I come here to sit for a while after work every day. I looked at her and saw a trace of desolation I could have sworn wasn't there before. A woman sitting alone by this deserted riverbank late at night. How lonely was that? More lonely than my own loneliness. After a long silence, I said, why are you doing this to yourself? Ava smiled faintly. Are you pitying me? I don't feel pitiful. I like to imagine this place is a beautiful ink wash painting. But you're the most desolate, drifting leaf in that painting. You could have a good life if you wanted to. Why are you letting this ad agency become such a burden? Ava looked at me, her expression accusatory. That's not what you said last time. You said I would definitely succeed, that I'd run a top-tier ad agency. That had a condition. The condition was that you could do it without killing yourself, not like this. What's wrong with this? My days are full. Coming here is just a way to relax, like how some people go to a bar to unwind. Seeing her defiant look, I didn't want to argue. I held up the unlit cigarette in my hand. Got a light. Ava seemed surprised that I'd given up so easily. She hesitated for a moment, then pulled a lighter from her purse and lit my cigarette in the cold wind. I took a deep drag and exhaled slowly. Are you not going back to Seattle for the holidays? Seattle is so close to Portland. I can go back and forth whenever. I was silent for a long time. What I mean is, what do your parents think about what you're doing now? Then just say that. Why do you have to talk in circles? I'm showing off my depth, cultivating your intellect. Ava actually chuckled, a real laugh that I couldn't remember hearing since she'd come back. You're still the same. So blunt, it's both infuriating and funny. We shouldn't talk about the past, even if I'm still the same me. I know, because I'm not the same me anymore, Ava said, the smile vanishing from her face. She looked out at the rippling water, her expression tinged with confusion. You still haven't told me what your parents think about your ad agency. Ava turned to me, frowning. Don't ask me that question again. I remember telling you, I don't care who opposes it. I'm going to make this dream a reality. Ava, don't you think you're being stubborn? Am I? But have you ever thought, if I wasn't stubborn, why would I have fallen in love with you and followed you in the first place? If I had just fallen in love with someone else, I wouldn't have had to go through so much pain. Her words filled me with guilt and brought me low. She had just invalidated everything we once had. She regretted it. She regretted her stubbornness and the pain that followed. You regret being with me, don't you? Yes, I've never denied it. I wasn't good enough for you. It was all my fault, I said in a low voice, not to be sarcastic, but from a place of genuine self-reproach. If I could do it all over again, I would have been smarter and never started a relationship that would end up tearing us both apart. But Ava just looked at me. Leo, I don't regret it, because I'm still being stubborn, and you weren't at fault. The fault was mine. We stared at each other. We had just agreed not to talk about the past, yet here we were. What was the point? It would only drag us back into the pain and repression of what we'd lost. But before I could change the subject, Ava did. Let's not talk about this. Tell me about you. How's the bar doing? Much better than before. Ava nodded. That was expected. Your marketing strategy accurately targeted the psychological needs of your customers. But the warmth marketing you mentioned before, that hasn't materialized yet. Do you have an idea? A small suggestion. I've been following the customers who post about the bar on Twitter. A lot of them are expressing regret that they can't go home for the holidays for various reasons. Don't you think that's an opportunity for some warmth marketing? I looked at her, understanding immediately. You mean, invite them to the bar for New Year's Eve, let them experience the holiday atmosphere and the warmth of a family, even when they're far from home? Ava nodded. Exactly. People are most sentimental during the holidays. That's the best time for this kind of marketing. We could prepare special meals based on their hometowns. That kind of personal touch would create a strong sense of belonging. Then, we can pivot to a membership model and transition into a more exclusive club-style bar. Once that transition is successful, the bar will have its own brand momentum. The next step is to build that brand. I applauded her. It was a precise, complete strategy, as expected from someone born into an advertising family. Her insight made me, a guy who'd been doing planning for years, feel like a total amateur. I had a feeling that this time, I might really be able to solve the bar's problems for good, fulfill my promise to Chloe, and regain my freedom to choose my own path in life. I just wondered, what was Micah, still on a plane high above, choosing for herself? Maybe she really did need some time to figure out her feelings for me, and all I could do was be patient and wait. In the darkness, Ava and I fell silent. The silence stretched until my craving for a cigarette returned. Got a light? I asked. Don't smoke. I didn't say anything, just looked up at the sky. Ava, confused, followed my gaze. I seized the opportunity, snatching the lighter from her hand. I calmly lit my cigarette, took a long drag, and exhaled all the chaotic emotions in my heart along with the smoke. Ava didn't argue. She just hugged her knees and, after a long while, asked, Leo, do you remember how we met? I remember, I said, taking another heavy drag. The scene of our first meeting floated into my mind, but now it felt like a distant dream. Ava smiled faintly. It feels like it happened yesterday. I looked at her, puzzled. How could two people who went through the same relationship have such different perceptions of time? I asked her, when we were together, what memory stands out the most to you? When you played guitar for me at the campus singing competition, she answered without hesitation. What about you? Every weekend, when your dad picked you up from school in his S-Class Mercedes. My answer was just as quick. It seemed that even back then, a seed of discomfort had been planted. In college, I hadn't let those negative feelings grow. I just thought that being happy together was enough. But looking back now, the disparity between us was what had left the deepest impression. Of course, there were beautiful moments, but to me now, those moments were just a faraway dream. My answer made Ava fall silent. After a long pause, she said, It's late. I should go. Okay, drive safe. I didn't drive. My place is close by now. She was already walking up the steps from the riverbank. I watched her go, feeling like there was something left unsaid, but I didn't know what. A wave of frustration washed over me. Then Ava stopped and turned back. Leo, if the bar is busy on New Year's Eve, call me. I'll come help. My number's the same. I just looked at her, my mind flashing back to the day I first met her and asked for her number. Even though she said the number hadn't changed, it was no longer the one I could once recite from memory. Back home, I took a shower in the freezing cold, then lay in bed, habitually smoking and thinking about how to pull off the New Year's Eve event. The more I thought, the clearer the ideas became, and I was filled with a sense of excitement. And then I couldn't sleep. I was wide awake until 4 in the morning. Lying in bed, bored out of my mind, I opened WhatsApp and started scrolling through my old chat history with Micah. It was a way to pass the time. Suddenly, I noticed she had changed her profile picture. It was now a photo of the guitar I had given her. She had also updated her status. There were several pictures of the guitar with a short caption. "Thank you. I love it." I smiled. It seemed she really did like it. It was the only status update she had ever posted. Scrolling back through our hundreds of pages of conversations, I realized we hadn't known each other for a long time. But our first meeting still felt like it happened yesterday. I started to feel drowsy, and the phone slipped from my hand. But then it vibrated, and a new message popped up in the middle of the night. I was instantly wide awake. It was from Micah. "Leo, I made it. You're there." Micah sent back a shocked emoji. "It's almost morning in Portland, isn't it? You're not asleep yet. You knew it was morning, and you still texted me. You trying to wake me up on purpose?" "Not on purpose. I just got off the plane, so you wanted to let me know you were safe right away." "Were you worried about me?" "What's there to worry about? Planes are the safest form of travel in the world. Welcome to America." Even though I said I wasn't worried, Micah didn't seem to get mad. She sent back a smiling emoji. "You should get up, drink a glass of milk, and go to sleep." A strange, subtle shift happened in my heart. The concern she was showing me was the kind a girlfriend would show. I couldn't help but wonder, when she comes back from America, are we really going to start a relationship? I actually got out of bed, mixed a glass of warm milk, drank it down, and texted Micah back. "Drank it. Send me a picture." I didn't find it troublesome at all. I took a picture of the empty glass and sent it to her. Micah quickly replied with a satisfied emoji. "Good boy. Now go to sleep. You're the good one." "No, you are. Not as good as you. You're the best." And so, separated by thousands of miles, we began this pointless conversation. Wait, was it pointless? Not all. At least in my heart. I wanted her to be a good girl, someone who wouldn't make me worry too much. And her? I hoped she felt the same way about me. The next day, I woke up around noon. After a quick lunch, I got a text from CC. She told me she was with Robin and Chloe. I felt a pang of envy. They all had someone to be with, while I was stuck in Portland, facing New Year's Eve alone. The whole afternoon, I stayed cooped up at home, working on the plan for the New Year's Eve event, until Ava called. I answered a little surprised. "Hello, what's up? If you have time now, could you help me buy some office equipment for the company?" I didn't answer right away. Something about it felt wrong. Ava added, "You should be free during the day, right? If you help me during the day, I can help you at the bar at night. Wouldn't that be more efficient?" I thought about it and didn't refuse. Since CC had left, the bar was in desperate need of a singer. If Ava was willing, she could fill CC's spot perfectly. Looked at that way, it was a mutually beneficial arrangement. Not long after we hung up, I met Ava at a local shopping plaza. We divided the tasks. I went to the electronics store to buy computers and projectors, while she went to the furniture store for desks and chairs. By the time we met up again, it was dusk. We found a fast food place and ate a quick meal. I updated her on what I had bought. After listening, Ava looked relieved. "Leo, thank you. With your help, this was so much more efficient. I've been running all over Portland these past few days. I'm exhausted." I smiled. "Don't thank me. We have a deal. You have to be our guest performer at the bar tonight. That's the easy part. Oh, and tonight you have to use that guitar to accompany me." Before Ava could finish her sentence, my blood ran cold. The guitar she had given me. I had traded it to get another one, which I had then given to Micah. In a panic, my mind raced, trying to figure out how to answer her. No matter what our relationship was now, that guitar was still a gift from her. If I told her I had traded it away, she would definitely be upset. So I decided to lie. CC took that guitar with her to LA. Ava's brow furrowed. "What for?" I built another lie on top of the first. "Robin said he needed to use it. If I remember correctly, you told me that guitar would be with you for the rest of your life, that you wouldn't let anyone else touch it." I lit a cigarette, frowning too. "Why are you so hung up on it? It was just a promise about a guitar. Haven't you seen how all the grand vows between lovers turn out to be worthless in the end?" My words left Ava speechless. It was a devastating blow. She must have remembered the word waiting that she had once written in lipstick on a car window, a promise she had failed to keep. We fell into a tense silence. Ava picked up her chopsticks and ate her takeout, not saying another word until she was finished. I did the same. In that moment, I understood why it was so hard for exes to be friends. If you argue, it means you haven't let go of the past. If you get along cheerfully, it just proves how happy you are after the breakup, which makes the choice to have been together in the first place seem like a mistake and absurdity. And if you're like Ava and me, repeating these silences, then you might as well just be strangers. Why even meet? Why even spend time together? After our meal, Ava still kept her promise and came to the bar with me, acting as the guest singer. Her presence filled the void left by CC. I never went up on the small stage to play for her. I just sat in a corner, working on the plan for the New Year's Eve event. Time passed quickly. At 9 o'clock, Ava finished her set and came down from the stage, sitting across from me to rest. I had a server bring her a glass of milk and kept my focus on my work. Ava didn't say anything. We had a tacit agreement to continue our silence until the ping of a WhatsApp notification broke it. I immediately stopped what I was doing and opened the message. It was from Micah. "Sunshine, I'm up. The weather in Philly today is great." I smiled and replied, "Who gave you permission to change my name?" "My dad wouldn't approve. Your dad named you Leo because he wanted you to be like a ray of sunshine, right? So I don't think I'm wrong. A man doesn't change his name. If I say you can't change it, you can't." After sending the message, I turned my attention back to my plan. Ava finally spoke up. "Leo, do you have a girlfriend now?" "What? Is Micah your girlfriend now? Did you two get back together?" I finally looked up at Ava. I remembered that in her mind, Mike and I were an on-again, off-again couple. After a moment, I said, "I wouldn't say we're back together. We're friends, I guess. If I'm not mistaken, she's the one who just texted you, right?" I stared at her, wondering how she could have known. "The smile you just had. That's the smile a man has when he's in love," Ava said calmly, answering my unspoken question. I smiled at her again. "And what about this smile?" "This one is mixed with a hint of perfunctory politeness, a sense of times that have passed." Am I that bad at hiding my emotions? Ava shook her head. "It's not that you can't hide them. It's that some emotions don't need to be hidden." Just as I was about to reply, another message from Micah came through. I put my conversation with Ava on hold and opened it. "I've never known you to be someone who sticks to tradition. So, Sunshine, I'm calling you from now on." "Fine. Call me whatever makes you happy. You're in America, so I can't exactly destroy you with my mind." I put my phone aside and looked at Ava. "What were you saying?" Ava looked at me, shook her head as if to say it wasn't important, and walked back toward the stage to continue singing. It was only then that I realized I had completely ignored her because of Micah's texts. I wondered, had my feelings for love really shifted? I imagined a scenario. What if, when Ava came back, she hadn't gotten together with Nathan? What if she was still alone? How would I feel then? As this hypothetical situation became more vivid in my mind, my heart started a race. I realized I couldn't just let it go, couldn't just forget. The reason I seemed to be moving on was only because Nathan was in the picture. It was impossible for me to do anything about our past love, so it was better to learn to forget, to treat Ava as a normal friend. And the evidence suggested I was almost there. I should be happy for myself, and for Ava. At least when I faced Nathan, my conscience was clear. Ava left the bar around 11. Until closing time, Micah didn't message me back, probably because I had made the conversation too boring. Back at my place, just as I had given up on hearing from her, another message came through. "Have you finished your work for today?" "Yeah, just got home." "It's been dry lately. Remember to water the plants on the balcony." "Okay, I'll do it now." I held the watering can in one hand and my phone in the other, waiting for her reply as I watered the plants. "Where are you spending the holidays this year?" "Sigh. Can't go back to Indianapolis. I'll just stay in Portland." "Why can't you go back? Is your mom still mad at you?" "Not really mad. She just said if I can't find a girlfriend more dependable than Liz, I shouldn't come back." "Tell me, where am I supposed to find someone like that? Dependable girls are in short supply these days." It was a long time before Micah replied. "Then just go back to your Miss Dependable. After all, she's so dependable in your eyes." I walked back and forth on the balcony, watering can in hand, but couldn't think of how to reply to that message. I could faintly sense a hint of jealousy, but I didn't want to be presumptuous. Just then, another message came from Micah. "Why aren't you answering?" I realized this was the first time she had ever asked me that. In the past, if I didn't reply for a whole day, she wouldn't have followed up. Now I was even more at a loss for what to say. After a long pause, I finally replied, "Because I was watering the plants." Then I waited nervously, hoping that excuse would be enough to get me off the hook. I set down the watering can and sat on the small stool on my balcony. I put a cigarette in my mouth, but didn't light it, just stared at my phone screen, waiting for Micah's reply. "Oh, well, answer my question after you're done watering." So much for getting off the hook. I pulled out my lighter, and with a click, the cigarette was lit. I squinted through the smoke, scratched my head, and finally texted back. "I don't get it. What does her being dependable have to do with you?" "Of course it has nothing to do with me. I just don't want to see you all alone in Portland." Her high-minded reply made me want to scoff. I texted back, "Who isn't born alone? The only things that ever stay with us are one sun, one moon, and a wind that's sometimes cold and sometimes hot. What about the plants? They're with you too." "No, the plants are just a trick to fool you. They'll wither one day, and in the end, you'll be alone again. Then how can you not be lonely? Loneliness is our destiny. Micah sent back a crying emoji. I don't want to be lonely. Ha ha ha. We are born to be lonely. Leo, stop it. It's really sad when you think about it. What's your loneliness compared to mine? At least you have so many people who like you, who adore you. Is your loneliness so much worse? I don't know, but I've been lonely enough to sleep in an underpass, listening to the horns of passing ships, lonely enough to say goodnight to a vast city under a sky full of stars. After sending that, I took a deep drag from my cigarette. I thought back to those penniless days in Seattle, waiting for Ava, who was trapped by her family. I really had slept in an underpass, clutching that guitar that played only a tune of Solitude. So what was loneliness to me? It was just a line of code left behind by the passing years. It was a long time before Micah replied. There will be a woman who will stay with you forever, so you won't be lonely anymore. And she won't be lonely either. I stared at that message for a long time, my mind flooded with 1,000 brilliant images of a life with this woman. I wanted to ask Micah, are you that woman who will stay with me forever? But in the end, I just replied, tired, going to sleep. Micah. After our conversation ended, I lay in bed, habitually lighting a cigarette and thinking. People are lonely creatures. Take me and Ava. After graduation, we went through so much to be together, thinking we wouldn't be lonely anymore. But we broke up, leaving each other with loneliness, and now we couldn't even bear to think about the days when we weren't lonely. Since life is so lonely, why do we even bother staying in this world? Then again, there's only one city in the sky. How could it possibly hold all the lonely people? My thoughts turned to Micah. If I had her by my side, could we comfort each other's loneliness? I thought we could. Just thinking of her being near me, even if we didn't say or do anything, would fill my heart. Her kindness, her beauty, they had already become a warmth that could drive away all the loneliness. Another week passed. It was now only 3 days until New Year's Eve. In that week, loneliness was my constant companion. Even Ben and Jenna had already left for Ben's hometown. I hadn't heard from Micah again. To be precise, I had texted her, but she hadn't replied, and I hadn't pushed it. Last night, after a long shift, I had taken my loneliness to the riverbank, but I hadn't seen Ava, so she too had left Portland. To me, Portland had become an empty city. In this empty city, there was a river filled with loneliness. I could dive in, swim from east to west, over and over, but there would be no woman on the bank calling my name, guiding me ashore. It was 10 o'clock at night. I stepped out of the bar, took a deep breath as usual, rubbed my cold hands together, and lit a cigarette. When I finished it, my workday would be over. I had only taken 2 drags when a pair of warm hands covered my eyes. I heard a familiar voice. Leo, guess who? Don't mess around, I said, pulling her hands away. Chloe rounded to face me, a huge smile on her face. Surprise, Leo? Of course I was surprised, but I kept my cool. What are you doing back in Portland? CC is with Robin, so I didn't want to be a third wheel. Besides, you're working at the bar all the way until New Year's Eve. How could I not come back and help? Well, at least you have some conscience. This isn't conscience. It's because I was thinking of you. The film crew just went on break, so I flew back as fast as I could, Chloe said, grabbing my arm. She seemed to be in a much better mood than the last time she was back. I stubbed out my cigarette and gently removed her hand from my arm. Chloe didn't seem to mind. Her voice was still cheerful. Have you eaten? I was going to go home and make some ramen. That's so pathetic. Forget the ramen. I'll treat you to a feast. I looked at her and laughed. You've got the face of a nouveau riche right now. I don't mind looking like a nouveau riche for the chance to treat you to a feast. All right then, get your wallet ready. I want some spicy chicken wings. Chloe looked at me, exasperated. Look at you with your grand ambitions. On a bench by the side of the road, I held a bag of warm, sticky rice, and Chloe held a container of spicy chicken wings. We sat pressed close together. I take a bite of rice, then a bite of a wing. This was life, the kind of life I wanted. At least in this moment, I wasn't lonely. Here, have some tea. Don't choke, Chloe said, handing me a cup. I took a sip and sighed. I'm living like an emperor, being served by a big star. I'm a female star, and you're the only one I admire. Bullshit. You're making fun of me. What's there to admire about a guy whose greatest pleasure is gnawing on chicken wings? If you'd let me, I'd be happy to gnaw on them with you. I looked in the container. There were only 2 wings left. I joked. Only 2 left. Even if you wanted to, I wouldn't give them to you. With lightning speed, Chloe snatched a wing from the container, took a quick bite, and looked at me triumphantly. I immediately pulled out my phone and snapped a picture of her, hands greasy, clutching the wing. Do you have an image to maintain? I asked her. Chloe nodded. Of course. I'm an idol and a serious actress. I showed her the picture. With that idle image of yours, this photo would be worth a fortune to some entertainment magazine. Chloe, still holding the greasy wing, threw her arm around my shoulder, pulled out her phone, and took a selfie of us. She was about to post it to her Twitter. I quickly stopped her. Don't. Your industry is a mess. I don't want to be part of any rumors with you. Then you still think that picture you took can threaten me? I quickly shook my head. No, we're not even in the same league anymore. Have you been taking some kind of brain-boosting supplements lately? Chloe froze for a second, then realized what I meant. She lunged at me, trying to smear her greasy hands on my face. Leo, you're such a jerk. I dodged, yelling seriously, don't mess around, or I'll fuck you up. Go ahead, go ahead. In the middle of our roughhousing, my phone pinged with a WhatsApp notification. I knew it had to be from Micah, who I hadn't heard from in days. Her messages were the only ones I had a special ringtone for. I held Chloe off with one hand and pulled my phone out with the other, opening WhatsApp. Have you been lonely these past few days? You ignore my texts. I'll ignore yours for a bit, I thought. Besides, Chloe was here. It would be rude to ignore her. I put my phone back in my pocket. By now, Chloe had given up on wrestling. She pulled a wet wipe from her purse. Give me your hand. I can wipe it myself. She ignored my protest, grabbed my hand, and cleaned the grease off it. Then she took another wipe for her own hands. After tossing the used wipes in the trash, she linked her arm through mine affectionately. This time, I didn't pull away. I remember the last time you were back. You kept your distance. What's with all the clinginess now? Robin and CC were there that day. So you were putting on an act? Chloe nodded. I only take off my mask when I'm alone with you. Don't you want to see the real me? CC and Robin aren't strangers. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do, Chloe said, her voice heavy. I stared at her for a moment, not wanting to press the issue. I changed the subject. Have you found a hotel yet? Forget the hotel. Spend some more time with me. Fine, but we can't just wander the streets like this. Chloe thought for a moment. Let's go watch the trains. I looked up at the sky. Not a single star was visible. The air was damp and cold. It felt like it might rain, or maybe even snow. I don't think so. The weather's about to turn. I don't care. I want to go. I frowned. Give me one good reason. Otherwise, find a hotel and get some rest. Chloe lowered her head. After a long moment, she said softly, do you have any idea what my life is like in LA? Every day, it's a whirlwind of social climbing, shuffling between clubs, and schmoozing at dinners. Every day, I feel like the string inside me is stretched so tight it's about to snap. I'm so tired. So tired. The only time I feel at peace, the only time I feel like myself, is when I'm with you. Leo, please have some sympathy. Don't say no to something that's so simple for you, but so precious to me. Please. Looking at her pleading eyes, I couldn't bear it. I took a deep breath, grabbed her hand, and shouted, let's go. Forget the goddamn social scene. Forget the goddamn rain. We're going to see the trains. And just like that, I was pulling her along, running against the cold wind toward my parked car. We were back at the same spot by the tracks where we had sat so long ago. But the wind was colder now, and the passing trains, heavy with holiday travelers, were no longer so light. We could almost feel the urgent need to get home radiating from the passenger cars. Chloe rested her head on my lap. I didn't have the heart to push her away, so I just draped my jacket over her. Leo, listening to the sound of the tracks, I just want to fall asleep right here. I want to sleep too, but the wind's a bit strong. We shouldn't stay too long, okay? I know. The good times are always short. I sighed softly, thinking about the helplessness of life. No matter how beautiful this view was, it couldn't feed us. We still had to keep struggling to survive. With the sound of the trains as our soundtrack, we fell into silence. I thought Chloe had fallen asleep, but then she pulled a stack of papers from her purse and handed them to me. This is a stock transfer agreement for the bar. I want to transfer 50% of the shares to you. I was stunned. I didn't take the contract from her. I just shook my head. Chloe, I don't want your shares. I'm helping with the bar purely as a friend. Once it's doing well, I'll probably go back to Indianapolis. Chloe sat up, pulling away from me. Why? She asked, not understanding. For a different kind of life. But I want to compensate you. I don't need compensation. Chloe lowered her head. Her voice was low and dejected. I know I can't compensate you. Because of me, you lost a woman who was willing to marry you and a stable life. Don't talk about that. It's all in the past. We have to look forward, right? I believe you'll go far in your acting career, and I believe you'll wish me the best, too. Of course I'll wish you the best. I even resent that I can't offer myself to you. I smiled. Don't do that. I'm used to a low-key life. I wouldn't dare marry a future superstar. I'm afraid the camera flashes would blind me. Chloe just looked at me, not responding. She lifted her hand and let the stock transfer agreement flutter away in the wind. Then she lay back down on my lap. A moment later, the rain really did start to fall, but she said nothing about leaving. My hair was soaked, and the cuffs of Chloe's pants were dark with water. We really couldn't stay here any longer. I finally nudged her. Let's go. If we stay out here any longer, we'll both catch a cold. I don't want to spend New Year's Eve sneezing. I don't want to stay in a hotel. I want to stay at your place. We've been over this. We're friends. You shouldn't stay at my place. I said I want to stay at your place, not sleep with you. The sofa is fine. No, I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. I was firm. She was far more beautiful than the average woman, and I was a man with normal needs. Why couldn't you control yourself? You live with Micah, didn't you? I froze. I realized I had never had those kinds of thoughts about Micah. It wasn't that she wasn't attractive. It was that she was too perfect, so perfect I couldn't bear to profane her. But Chloe was different. We had a history. If we were alone in a room together, it would be hard to restrain myself. Just then, Chloe leaned in and whispered in my ear, I'm on my period. You wouldn't be that much of an animal, would you? Bullshit. I don't believe you. If I can prove I'm on my period, will you let me stay? I was silent. Leo, I'm really not lying. And I think I'm having cramps right now, Chloe said, her voice trembling. An award-winning performance. Feel my forehead. I reached out and touched her forehead. It really did feel clammy, but I was still skeptical. Isn't that just rainwater? You don't trust me that much? I've been bundled up in your jacket. How could the rain get in? I felt completely helpless, but I was more worried about her. Micah's not here anyway, I thought. Chloe can just stay in her room. I can make her some tea with brown sugar, save her from being alone and miserable in a hotel. I finally brought Chloe back to my apartment building. I carried her on my back up the stairs. Leo, so this is where you've been living. Yeah, it's a bit run down, but it has its charms. I've always wanted to see it, but you never gave me the chance. Today, my wish finally came true. Don't say that, or I'll start to think you planned this, but there are no cramps at all. As we talked, I carried her up to the 5th floor. I cleared my throat to trigger the motion sensor light in the hallway. Just as I was about to pull my keys from my pocket, the door swung open. My jaw dropped. Standing in the doorway, impossibly, was Micah. She was back from America. The joyful expression on Micah's face vanished, replaced by an icy mask. She stared at me, and the silence between us grew thick and suffocating. Finally, cornered by the awkwardness, I broke it. You're back? Why didn't you call me? Micah ignored my question, her eyes fixed on Chloe. What's wrong with her? I remembered Chloe was still on my back and quickly helped her down, forcing a smile from Micah. She's just not feeling well. Oh, well, come on in. The moment Chloe and I stepped inside, Micah grabbed her handbag and walked out. The suddenness of it left me stunned. Chloe nudged me. What are you waiting for? Go after her. Once she's in her car, you'll never catch her. Oh, right. I snapped back to reality and bolted out the door. By the time I got downstairs, Micah was already there, car keys in hand. I managed to keep a cool head. Instead of grabbing her, I snatched the keys from her grasp and clenched them in my fist. Now she couldn't leave. As I'd hoped, she stopped and looked at me, her expression chillingly calm. I rubbed my nose, trying another weak smile. You should have called me when you got back. You don't even reply to my WhatsApps. Why would I call? It hit me then, the message I'd put off answering. I could see it all clearly now. She'd asked if I'd been lonely. If I'd said yes, this would have been a surprise. But no, my dumbass had to go and rewrite the entire script. Give me back my keys, Micah said, her voice still frigid. I ignored her, stuffing the keys deep into the inner pocket of my jacket and zipping it up tight. Short of tearing my clothes off, she wasn't getting them. I secretly hoped she'd call me a scumbag, but all she did was frown and turn to walk out of the complex. A light rain was falling, just enough to soak us. I followed her, trying to reason with her, grabbing her arm a few times until I finally managed to pull her under the awning of a closed shop. I pressed my hands against the wall, trapping her in my arms. Leo, what the hell do you think you're doing? I just don't want you to go. Where I go is my business. If you don't move, I'm calling the police. You're really going to call the cops over something this stupid? Even if they show up, they'll just think it's a domestic dispute and leave us alone. I don't want to hear your stupid jokes. Micah cut me off. I cut her off right back. You want to call them? Fine. Here, I'll do it for you. I pulled out my phone, dialed 911, and held it out to her. Go on. Just hit the call button, and Portland's finest will be here in a minute to haul me away like last week's garbage. To my horror, she actually took the phone, and her thumb hovered over the green button. I snatched it back and hung up, my voice rising in anger. What did I do to you? Are you seriously trying to send me to jail? You dialed the number. You handed me the phone. Why are you yelling at me now? Can't you tell when I'm bluffing? Or did you really think I was so lonely I wanted to spend New Year's Eve with a bunch of cops? Lonely? You're lonely? You got a woman hanging off you every 2 seconds. And all that crap about being so alone you were sleeping under a bridge? Were you just trying to make me feel sorry for you? And I was the idiot who actually believed your pack of lies. Her words were a punch to the gut. I finally understood. She had come back from her trip early to save me from my loneliness. I lowered my voice, trying to explain. Please, don't be angry. Chloe just got back tonight, and she's on her period, really bad cramps. I was just taking her home. Micah's face grew even harder. Really? I seem to recall a time when I had my period, and you wouldn't even go out to buy me a box of tampons. I'm starting to realize how pathetic I am, building everything up based on my own stupid assumptions. My brain froze. I couldn't find a single word for a follow-up explanation. Micah had lost her patience. She shoved me hard and ran toward the street, flagging down a taxi. I shook myself out of my stupor and chased after her, grabbing her arm again, desperate to stop her from leaving like this. The taxi driver saw us struggling, got out of his car, and stomped over to me. Hey, buddy, you can't be manhandling a girl like that. This is a civilized society. I'm warning you. Mind your own business. I snarled, still holding on to Micah. Can't you see we're a couple? The driver looked at Micah for confirmation. Ma'am, is that true? You with this guy? I jumped in before she could answer. Of course it's true. Look at us. We're perfect for each other. What else would we be? Micah, still trying to pull away, frowned. Sir, don't listen to him. The driver's face settled into an expression of grim understanding. He pulled out his own phone. All right, this is simple enough. We'll just call the cops and let them sort it out. I cut him off, fury boiling over. You call the cops, and I'll smash your goddamn car. Whoa, you little punk, he shot back, puffing out his chest. You just try it. I'd love to see you try. I let go of Micah and, without thinking, picked up a loose brick from the edge of the sidewalk and started walking toward his cab. Micah grabbed me, her voice filled with disbelief. Leo, what are you doing? The driver, however, was unfazed. Let him go, ma'am. I've been driving this cab for years. I've seen all kinds of tough guys. Let's see what this little bastard's got. I stopped and looked at Micah. You heard him. He called me a little bastard. Let me go. I'm going to smash his piece of junk car. She held on tighter, her voice stretched to its absolute limit. Stop acting crazy. Please. Suddenly, I dropped the brick. I pulled Micah into an embrace and turned to the still glaring driver. Sir, first off, I respect a man who stands his ground. Second, let me explain. I'm an educated, decent guy. I was never actually going to smash your car. And I'm sure a man with your high IQ has already figured this out. If she weren't my wife, would she be trying this hard to calm me down? So, you see, it's just a little spat. A lover's quarrel. You know how it is. So if you could just do us a favor and not get involved, that'd be great, okay? The driver looked me over, his expression finally softening. Well, you put it that way, it makes a bit more sense. I seized the opening, pulling a 20 from my wallet and offering it to him. Sorry to waste your time. This is for the fare. Go buy yourself a drink. He waved the money away. Keep it. There's an old saying, you don't get in the middle of a marriage. I'm staying out of this one. You cab drivers are a credit to Portland, man. Passionate, generous, and reasonable. I shot him a thumbs up. He clapped me on the shoulder, a truce in his smile. As he left, he added, Kid, a woman this beautiful, she's allowed to have a temper. You gotta give in a little. Spoil her. I can tell she was worried about you. I looked back at Micah and grinned shamelessly. She's my girl. Of course she's worried. The driver just shook his head, smiling, and got back in his car. He drove off, disappearing into the rain, leaving Micah and me alone once more. I turned to Micah, a smug look on my face. See? You've witnessed my methods. I suggest you give up on the whole taxi idea. For every cab that comes, I'll pull the same trick to get rid of them. Micah didn't answer. She just turned with a stubborn set to her shoulders and started walking into the wind and rain again. I sighed, but fell in a step behind her, determined to follow her wherever she went. We walked the entire length of the block. When she suddenly stopped, I couldn't halt my momentum in time and bumped right into her. We both stumbled, but managed to stay upright. I looked at her, embarrassed. She seemed worn down by the whole ordeal. How long are you going to follow me? As long as you keep walking. Don't you think you're being incredibly annoying? I shook my head. No, I just think there's been a huge misunderstanding between us. She ignored my comment about a misunderstanding. Do you know what the temperature is right now? 23 degrees. So you know it's 23 degrees. Please, just stop following me. I'm freezing, and I just want to go home and sleep. I blurted out, then I'll go to your place to... How can you even say that? You've already taken over my old apartment, and now you want to squat in my other one. I was speechless. Go keep your friend with the period cramps company, she said, her voice sharp. I think she needs you more. I'm leaving. Don't follow me. I instinctively started to move with her, but she spun around again. Leo, it's 23 degrees out here. Hearing her say it, the number felt like it froze my limbs. I stood there, rooted to the spot, and watched helplessly as she walked to the curb, hailed another taxi, and disappeared. I let out a heavy sigh and pulled a cigarette from the pack. My fingers were numb from the cold. I couldn't get a proper grip, and it slipped to the wet pavement. With another sigh, I turned and started walking back the way I came. When I got back to the old apartment, I found a note from Chloe on the coffee table. Leo, I'm so sorry I caused trouble for you again. I've gone to a hotel. Chloe, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Wasn't this just proof that we're all born to be alone? In the end, on this freezing night, the only person left in this apartment was me. I sat on the sofa for a long time before pulling out my phone. I sent Chloe a text, reminding her to stay warm and not catch a chill, especially since she was on her period and more run down than usual. She replied almost immediately, I will. Don't worry. What about Micah? Did you catch up with her? I typed back, do you know what the temperature is tonight? Chloe, 23 degrees. Me, yeah. So I couldn't exactly keep chasing her all over town in this weather, could I? Chloe sent a sad face emoji. I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was coming back suddenly. Me, don't be sorry. It's not like we're. And she and I aren't anything either. Chloe, but you can't deny you like her, can you? NCC said she was in the States. She must have rushed back to surprise you. I ran a cold hand over my exhausted face. Let's just call it a beautiful mistake. A long time passed with no reply from Chloe. Feeling lost, I finally went to the bathroom and filled a basin with hot water to soak my feet. I was still debating whether to call Micah. If I couldn't clear up this misunderstanding, it would feel like a bone stuck in my throat. Just as I resolved to call her, my phone rang. For a second, I thought it was her, but when I looked at the screen, it said the warden. I answered, a little nervous. Warden? You're calling this late. It's not something serious, is it? It's almost New Year's. Are you coming home? His voice was as flat and emotionless as ever. I couldn't tell if he wanted me to come back or not. After a long pause, I asked tentatively, I won't be causing problems if I come back, will I? What kind of question is that? Warden, you know about the call I got from Mom the other day, right? I know. Then you know she told me to find a girl more dependable than Liz before I even think about coming home? And I really don't think she was joking. Then find one that'll make her happy. I complained, you think dependable girls are commodities you can just pick up at the store? He ignored my complaint. Didn't I tell you to bring Micah home for the holidays last time? I ran a hand through my hair in frustration. If it weren't for tonight's disaster, I might have actually been able to bring Micah back to Indianapolis with me. But I'd completely screwed it up. And with her unpredictable temper, God only knew how long it would take for her to forgive me. I sighed. You're my dad, so I won't lie to you. Comrade Micah is pretty pissed at me right now. What did you screw up this time? He asked, his voice low and accusatory. I swear to God, it was nothing. Just a misunderstanding. But she refuses to listen to my explanation. Is that what you call a dependable girl? She's got a serious princess complex. The warden's voice dropped into a stern lecture. She's a girl on her own, with no family to lean on. It's perfectly normal for her to feel insecure in a relationship. You need to have some patience. His words hit home. He had a point. You're right, I conceded. Actually, she can be pretty great, really dependable sometimes. More dependable than you, that's for sure. I felt a flush of embarrassment. He was right. If I hadn't been messing around with other women, none of this would have happened tonight. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was in the wrong. So what should I do? I asked, seeking his guidance. His answer was concise. Show more sincerity, and have twice as much patience. I got it. I'll do my best to bring her to Indianapolis by New Year's Day. You've got to cover for me with Mom, though. Whether it's Liz or Micah, your mother just wants you to live a good life. Stop screwing up so much in the future. You hear me? You're right. From now on, I'll look in a mirror every day and remind myself to be a steady, dependable man. After hanging up with the warden, I tried to look at the situation from Micah's perspective. The more I thought about it, the worse I felt for her. Finally, clenching my teeth, I made a crazy decision. On this 23-degree night, I was going to show her absolute sincerity and determination. I was going to stake out her apartment complex until she forgave me for what happened tonight. I drove through the bitter cold toward her upscale building, Riverview Estates. I sent her a message on WhatsApp. I'm outside your building. I'll wait here until you're willing to come out. To prove my sincerity, I didn't stay in the car. I got out and started pacing back and forth in the covered entryway of the security office. But she didn't reply. A knot of anxiety formed in my stomach. I was afraid she'd already gone to sleep and hadn't seen the message. I was also afraid she was testing my resolve. I stood there in the freezing cold, torn and shivering. I was shaking so hard I couldn't stand it. I had to call her just to know what was going on. If she didn't answer, she was probably asleep. If she rejected the call, she was testing me. And if she was testing me, I just had to be patient and wait. She wouldn't just let me freeze to death out here on a 23-degree night. After all, I thought she liked me a little, even if I wasn't the most dependable guy. With a trembling hand, I dialed Micah's number only to be plunged into despair a moment later. A recorded voice informed me that her phone was off. What did that mean? She must have already been asleep. A wave of hopelessness washed over me, leaving me feeling like I'd been torn apart and thrown into the heartless, cold, rainy night. My fingers shook as I pulled a cigarette from my pocket. My numb hand fumbled with the lighter, clicking it several times before a gentle flame flickered to life, only to be extinguished by a sudden gust of wind. A surge of frustration went through me. I threw the cigarette on the ground, then let out a bitter, helpless laugh. Why was it that the more I missed her, the further away she seemed to get? I huddled in a corner against the wind, but the damp cold still sliced through me. Shivering violently, I wanted another cigarette, but the pack was empty. I bent down and picked up the one I'd thrown on the ground, brushed off the dirt, and, after several attempts with the lighter, finally managed to inhale the comforting taste of tobacco. I felt myself drifting, just numbly puffing out smoke, but I didn't want to leave. I had made a promise to Micah. After all, I'd said I would wait until she was willing to come out. It never occurred to me that she might have turned her phone off before she even got my message. Time crawled by. I crossed my arms and paced relentlessly, trying to fight off the cold. I couldn't remember the last time Portland had been this cold. The door to the security office opened, and a middle-aged guard came out. "Hey, kid, you've been standing out here for a long time. You waiting for someone?" "Yeah, man. Come on inside and wait," the guard said kindly. "We've got heat in here." I managed to smile. "It's okay, thanks. I'm afraid she won't see me if I'm inside." "Get in here, son. This isn't like the dry, cold up north. This damp chill at 23 degrees will kill you." "Thanks, man, really. But I'm fine. I'm young, I can handle it." The guard was a good guy. He came over and put a hand on my arm. "It's no problem. We've got security cameras. You'll see her the second she comes out." The biting cold made me hesitate for a second, but only a second. I shook my head firmly. "Sir, if you could just give me a cup of hot water, that would be great. I'll wait for her out here." The guard finally let go of my arm, a puzzled look on his face. "Waiting for your girlfriend? Huh. I didn't bother lying to this kind, friendly man." "Not my girlfriend," I said honestly. "You don't understand. In her eyes, I'm the least dependable guy on the planet. I've never done a single proper, serious thing for her. So tonight, I want to do something serious for once. The cold doesn't matter. As long as I can see her the moment she appears, my heart will warm up. It's too easy to miss something on a security monitor." My speech didn't convince him. He tried again, his tone earnest. "Son, the girls who live in this complex, they're either from wealthy families or they're corporate executives. They're a different breed, real high maintenance. Waiting around like a fool might not get you anywhere. Just the other day, we had a kid who made an even bigger scene than you. Turned this whole entrance into a garden, balloons everywhere. You know what he got for it? Nothing but an earful." He slunk away with his tail between his legs. Listening to the guard's well-reasoned story, I could almost picture it. He was right. Nowadays, for any woman with looks and money, a man could bend over backwards and still not earn an ounce of dignity. I instinctively glanced toward the apartments inside the gate, then smiled. "Sir, she's not like those other women. She probably just hasn't seen my message yet. Otherwise, she would have come out. Please, just let me wait a little longer." The guard finally gave up. "All right, you're a stubborn one," he sighed. "I won't try to persuade you anymore. I'll go get you a cup of tea." "Thanks, man." As I watched him walk away, I couldn't help but wonder why I was being so persistent. Was it really the warden's words that had woken me up? Or was this some sudden, spontaneous need to stick to my principles? I couldn't find an answer. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe it was simple. I just missed her. I missed her without thinking about the consequences. The guard brought me a cup of hot water and even lit a cigarette for me. I stood there in the cold, rainy night, my sense of loneliness growing heavier with each passing moment, just watching and waiting. If she appeared in front of me right now, I would be the happiest man in the world. Having been through a conversion from hell to heaven, you understand the preciousness of a hard-won happiness. The one scalding cup was now the same temperature as my hand. The air seemed to have gotten even colder as the night deepened. I started shivering again. The guard came back out to me, sighing. "Son, I really can't bear to watch you stand out here anymore. But I can't let you in without the resident's permission. It's the rules. Don't worry about it, sir. Even if you let me in, I don't know which building she lives in." The guard took off his security cap and scratched his head. Suddenly, he slapped me on the shoulder, his voice filled with excitement. "Kid, look, is that her?" Under the dim, hazy light, I couldn't see clearly. All I could make out was a figure in pajamas running toward us. The seconds ticked by. I could finally see her face. My words came out in a stammer. "It's her. That's her." In a fit of pure joy, I waved frantically. "Run, Comrade Micah, run faster." Micah finally reached me, breathless. I felt like I was in a dream. I just grinned at her. What are you smiling about, you idiot? Micah's voice was soft, but laced with a gentle reprimand. You're so beautiful it's breathtaking. How could I not smile? Micah just looked at me, her eyes welling up. Her voice caught. It's freezing out here. Are you stupid? What if you get sick? I didn't say anything. I just wanted to hug her, but my hands were too stiff from the cold. The guard pulled us both toward the door. This girl ran out in her pajamas. You can't let her catch a cold. Go talk inside. I took a stiff step toward the office, looking at Micah in confusion. She looked like she'd come in such a rush, wearing a thick cotton pajama set. What had she been doing before? Inside the security office, the guard made us both hot tea. Micah took my hands, trying to warm them with her own, her voice still chiding. Did you come here right after you sent that message? I only waited for a little while. The guard interjected. He's been standing out here for almost an hour, and he's still trying to act tough. I told him to wait inside, but he wouldn't listen. Micah squeezed my hands. I'm sorry. I made you wait so long. My phone was off. I couldn't sleep, so I turned it back on. But why are you so stupid? What if I hadn't had insomnia? What if I just slept through the night? Were you really going to wait until morning? Micah was calling me stupid, but it was the kind of scolding that was really just concern. That concern seemed to chase away the hour of bitter cold I had endured. I smiled at her. You're pretty stupid yourself, running out here in your pajamas. You look like one of those crazy ladies who wears her flannel PJs to go grocery shopping. Micah looked down at herself, then pointed to the pattern on her pajamas. Don't you think this is fun? It has little bears and kittens on it. Yeah, it's interesting, I agreed. She smiled. I saw your message the second I turned my phone on and ran right out. If you were dumb enough to wait here all night and you froze to death, I'd have felt guilty. Well, it's been proven that I'm a little dumb, but what? You rushed out here so fast, and it definitely wasn't just because of guilt. It's because you were worried about me. Micah looked at me in silence for a moment before finally conceding. Fine, I admit it. I was worried. So, to keep me from worrying anymore, don't you think you should go home, drink some ginger tea, and get some rest so you don't get sick? That's not very fair. Micah looked puzzled. What do you mean? In the spirit of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, shouldn't you be the one making me ginger tea? I've made it for you several times. But you also have a habit of pissing me off until I'm half dead. By that logic, shouldn't I return the favor? I just smiled, not taking the bait. In my heart, I hoped she would piss me off half to death regularly. At least it would prove our lives were still connected. I really didn't want to imagine a future where we became strangers, living in separate worlds. That night, Micah ultimately chose the path of mutual back-scratching over an eye for an eye. She came back to the old apartment with me. I had, in fact, caught a chill and was lying in bed, sneezing nonstop. A few minutes later, she brought me a bowl of ginger tea she'd made and sat on the edge of the bed, watching me. I didn't have much faith in her concoction. Go on, drink it. I followed your instructions exactly. I even added extra brown sugar. Oh, well, as long as you didn't add poison. Micah ignored my tasteless comment and looked at the picture frames on the TV stand. Inside were the photos I'd stolen from her desk drawer not long ago. Leo, can you please put those pictures away? I let out a huge sneeze and shook my head. Nope. Did you know the warden put those frames up himself? He did. He said pictures fade when they're stuck in books, so he framed them. Oh, but I cut her off. You're just afraid your pouty faces and peace signs will gross people out, aren't you? You're overthinking it. Besides me and you, basically no one ever comes in this room. Fine. Keep them or don't. You're the one who has to look at them, not me, she said, her tone a little annoyed. I added more fuel to the fire. I see them every day. They stopped grossing me out a long time ago. Now, they just ward off evil spirits. I sleep better at night. Huh? Micah watched me without a word, which made me nervous. The calmer she appeared, the more certain I was that she was concocting some new way to torment me. But I couldn't help it. I was a bit of a masochist. I loved teasing her. As it turned out, she wasn't planning revenge. She just urged me, Leo, drink the ginger tea. All of it. Right now. If I chug it, I'll burn my mouth off. Are you even sick? She asked doubtfully. You won't drink the tea, but you have enough energy to laugh like a maniac. I immediately pulled a tissue from the nightstand, blew my nose loudly, and held it out for her to see. See? A big glob of snot doesn't lie. I'm really sick. Micah didn't say anything, but she leaned back, putting some distance between herself and the tissue. Feeling a bit deflated, I tossed the tissue in the trash. I'm trying so hard to disgust you. Can't you give me some kind of reaction? She looked at me with the same calm expression. With someone as juvenile as you, the more I react, the more you'll act up. Just drink your tea. I need to get ready for bed. I finally gave up my antics, picked up the now cooler tea, and drank it in a few gulps. I handed her the empty bowl. As she turned to leave, I called out, "Wait." She looked back but didn't smile. "What is it?" The words were hard to find. I chose a more indirect approach. "Do you ever feel like we're not as close as we seem? Like right now, even though we're in the same room, it feels like—" Micah was quiet for a moment before looking at me. "But we're not as far apart as you think, either." I watched her. Maybe she was right. We weren't far apart, but it felt like a single, colorful leaf that had landed on a humble heart. The leaf had found a temporary resting place, but the humble heart was afraid it couldn't keep it there. All it would take was a gust of wind for the leaf to be blown away. And I didn't have the strength to build 4 walls to block that damn wind. Not yet. Still, I gathered my courage. "Come back to Indianapolis with me for New Year's. It's always a big celebration there. You've asked me that before, and you said you're going to be in the States for the holidays." "Yes, but now I'm back. So, you have nowhere else to go. You have to come to Indianapolis with me." That's right, she said, playing along. "I have nowhere to go. Please, take me in." I was ecstatic. She smiled, then left in the midst of my joy. I forgot to say goodnight, but that was okay. I never liked saying goodnight during a moment of happiness. It felt like it would break the spell. That night, I had a dream. A brilliantly colored butterfly landed in the palm of my hand. It was so exquisite. I watched it with a greedy gaze, but I didn't have to worry about it struggling and rubbing off its beautiful colors. It stayed perfectly still in my hand. After a long time, it finally fluttered its wings. I lifted my head, following it with my eyes, and suddenly I saw that crystalline city, the city in the sky, and the colored butterfly gradually merged into one. In my dream, I understood. Perhaps that colored butterfly was the girl with the long, flowing hair. The next day, I woke up close to noon. I habitually checked my phone for the time and saw a message from Chloe asking me to call her when I got up. I dialed her number right away. She picked up quickly. "What's up?" I asked. "You should ask Mike out to lunch today. I want to treat her to a meal and help you explain what happened yesterday." I smiled. "No need to explain. We're fine now. You patched things up?" "I wouldn't call it that, but yeah, we're okay." "How did you manage that?" I was about to answer when Chloe spoke again. "Never mind. That was a stupid question. If she really cares about you, she would forgive a misunderstanding that was never real in the first place." I was silent. I knew she was right. I was absolutely certain now that Micah cared about me. So why hadn't I confessed my feelings to her last night? I still couldn't get over that hurdle. It felt like a colored leaf on a humble heart. The leaf had a place to rest for now, but the heart was terrified it couldn't keep it. Because all it took for a leaf to leave was a gust of wind, and right now was I strong enough to build the walls to stop it. After hanging up with Chloe, I lit a cigarette and sat on the bed before even brushing my teeth. Halfway through the cigarette, my thoughts turned to Chloe again. If I took Micah to Indianapolis, what would happen to her? She had come all the way from New York just to be with me. I couldn't just leave her alone in Portland for the holidays. But I couldn't take her and Micah to Indianapolis with me, either. That would be a complete disaster. After waking up, Micah and I grabbed lunch at a diner near the apartment complex. Afterward, we sat on one of those coin-operated rocking horses outside a convenience store, swaying back and forth as we discussed the trip to Indianapolis for the holidays. "Leo, let's go to the mall later and buy some gifts." "I can't show up at your house empty-handed again," Micah said. The horse she was on had stopped moving, so I dropped another quarter in for her. "You don't have to do that. My family isn't big on that stuff." "No, you have to come with me," she insisted. Okay, we'll go. We'll go right now." She finally smiled. A ray of midday sun caught her dark hair as it swayed in the breeze. I felt a little dazed, thinking, how great would it be if this woman could be my wife someday? My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. It was a text from CC. "Leo, what are you up to?" "Riding a mechanical horse." CC sent back a sweating emoji. "You're in a mood to play?" "Micah told me you two are going to Indianapolis for New Year's." "Yeah, that's the plan. So what about the great Chloe? You're not just going to leave her in Portland, are you?" CC's question hit a nerve. My playful mood vanished. I got off the horse, sat on the bench in front of the store, and lit a cigarette, feeling even more lost about how to solve this problem. After a long pause, I texted CC back. "What do you think I should do? Got any ideas?" It seemed like CC was thinking it over, because it took her a while to reply. "I'll call Chloe in a bit. See if she'd be willing to go back to New York." "Okay, let me know what she says." "Will do." A little while later, Micah was driving us to the mall. My mind was preoccupied, wondering what Chloe would decide, and I barely said a word to Micah on the way. "Leo, is something on your mind?" "Nope." To prove it, I started studying her, my eyes finally landing on her jacket. "Is that jacket from the new Chanel collection?" Micah smiled. "Yeah. Do you like it?" It's nice. "Go on. Your daily expenses must be pretty high, huh?" "Why do you ask?" "Just curious." wondering what life is like for people like you. Can I choose not to answer? Before I could respond, my phone rang. I knew it was probably Chloe. I pulled out my phone and was surprised to see her name on the screen. I answered, and her voice on the other end sounded surprisingly cheerful. Leo, hey, I'm calling to tell you. I'm heading to Santa Fe this afternoon. What? What? Just felt like I needed to get away for a bit, clear my head. I knew what was really happening. She was going to Santa Fe to give me and Micah space. I was silent for a long moment before I asked, did CC say something to you? It has nothing to do with CC. Even if she hadn't called, I'd already decided to go. You'll just have to handle the New Year's Eve event at the bar. That's no problem, but are you going with anyone? Why does there have to be someone? Don't you think traveling alone is more freeing, more relaxing? A knot formed in my stomach. I hated the thought of her spending New Year's alone in some old town in New Mexico. No matter how much she tried to hide it, sitting alone in a cafe at sunset on New Year's Day would be lonely and depressing. Leo, I gotta pack. I'll talk to you later. Wait, why don't you? Come back with me. Chloe laughed, cutting me off. No, don't worry about it. You just be happy with Micah. As a close friend, I sincerely hope you find your happiness. And I truly hope that, in the future, she'll be the one who makes you happy. Okay, I really have to pack now. Happy New Year to you and Micah. Thanks. You too. Yeah. The line went dead with a dial tone. That single, clipped, you made it impossible for me to guess her mood as she hung up. All I could do was hope her trip to Santa Fe would be a happy one. After the call, I couldn't remember what Micah and I had been talking about. I fell silent again. After a moment, Micah asked, is Chloe going to Santa Fe? Yeah. She said she wanted to clear her head. It's nice. The weather in Santa Fe is great this time of year. You're pretty sad to see her go, aren't you? Me? Yes, you, Leo. It's not a big deal. It's just Santa Fe, not the end of the world. Micah didn't reply, focusing on her driving. A few minutes later, we arrived downtown, but she pulled into the parking garage for Polaris Retail. I was confused. Aren't we going to your mall, Aria Grande? We're going to Polaris. She had already unbuckled her seatbelt, grabbed her bag, and gotten out of the car. I followed her. We joined the crowded throng of shoppers and entered Polaris Retail. I felt a wave of nostalgia. I hadn't been back since I quit, but I had worked here for years. I knew the location of every single store on every floor. As we went up the escalator, Micah finally spoke. Leo, do you know why I want to come to Polaris to shop? I shook my head. I figured you'd be familiar with every store here. It'll save us time finding what we need. Aren't you familiar with Aria Grande? I only know a small part of it. I rarely interact with the vendors in the mall, but it's different for people in marketing and planning. I nodded. She was right. In my years at Polaris, I'd spent nearly every day communicating with the tenants. Micah asked me another question. Leo, do you have any feelings for this kind of work for mall planning? I didn't answer right away. I looked around. The truth was I did. At least it was a real, legitimate job. I finally nodded. Yeah, I used to get really excited whenever I came up with a good marketing idea. I talked to Mr. Clark about you, she said. He really admires your creativity. He said you were a bit undisciplined, but definitely worth developing. I chuckled. So that's how my old manager saw me. Yes. And I remember you said that once the bar was on its feet, you'd figure out what to do next. I believe the 5th season will be on track very soon. Shouldn't you be thinking about your own future? I finally understood why Micah had brought me to Polaris. She wanted me to feel something, to be moved by the familiar scene. Sure enough, she continued, I hope that in the future, you'll come work at Aria Grande. I hope in the future. Those words were strange to hear again. Chloe had just said the same thing to me. Did both of these women have expectations for my future? Chloe hoped for my happiness and love, and Micah hoped for my success at work. After a moment of silence, I finally asked Micah, why do you keep bringing up me working at Aria Grande? She answered without a hint of hesitation. Trust. Because I trust you. Do you understand what those two words mean? Of course, I understood why she trusted me. And I understood even more how much she needed that trust in the cutthroat world of retail. But I still couldn't bring myself to commit to working at Aria Grande, just like I couldn't bring myself to confess my feelings for her. As we stood there in silence, a group of people walked toward us. At the front was the general manager of Polaris Retail. I looked at Micah, curious if the heads of Portland's 2 biggest luxury retailers knew each other. I nudged her. See that group? The man in the front is the GM of Polaris. Micah looked up, her eyes meeting the GM's. A smile spread across his face, confirming that they knew each other. The GM, flanked by a group of Polaris executives, came up to us. Ms. Micah, he said with a laugh, what a rare sight. Are you here doing some market research at Polaris? Micah met his passive-aggressive jab with a smile of her own, replying with her usual calm, just buying a few things. For the GM of Aria Grande to grace our store with her business, well, that's the highest praise we could ask for, he said, laughing again. The people behind him chuckled along. Micah remained poised. Polaris is very nice. The shopping environment is excellent. You think so? It's a far cry from Aria Grande, I'm afraid. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had several of our mid-level managers jump ship to your company. As soon as he finished, Mr. Roberts, the EVP who had a history of conflict with Mr. Clark, chimed in. I hear that after Clark went to Aria Grande, he got promoted to VP. He was just a department manager here. From that perspective, Aria Grande doesn't seem so unbeatable after all. Micah's brow furrowed slightly, but she held her tongue. I, however, had had enough of their little song and dance routine. I stepped in front of Micah, facing the GM and Mr. Roberts. Do you two remember me? I asked. Probably not. After all, I was just a nobody. A junior staffer in the planning department here at Polaris. But I quit. Now, I just bum around, waiting to die. According to Mr. Roberts' bullshit logic, doesn't that prove Polaris is even worse? After all, I'd rather be unemployed than stick around here. Mr. Roberts' face turned ugly, while the GM just looked at me with surprise. The different reactions were because Roberts knew who I was, and the GM truly didn't. Before Roberts could blow up, I turned to him. Mr. Roberts, you're a retail professional. Your professional standards must be very high, so I'm sure you'll agree with what I just said. After all, right now, I'm a Polaris customer, and the customer is always right. Of course, I'm a very civilized customer, which is why I didn't just slap you across the face. You son of a bitch. Roberts' face went pale. The GM shot him a look, silently warning him to keep his cool in public. He clenched his jaw but said nothing, just glared at me. I just gave him a careless smile. The GM looked at me for a long time before speaking, his voice low. I had no idea Polaris ever employed someone with such a sharp tongue. However, I don't think her departure was a loss for the company. He then turned to Micah. Ms. Micah, I sincerely hope those mid-level managers we discarded can shine at Aria Grande. I look forward to seeing the contributions they make. Micah replied calmly. I'll take that as a good luck wish then. The GM smiled and nodded, then led his entourage around us. Micah paid them no mind, her eyes fixed on me. Why are you looking at me like that? Her voice was soft. Thank you for defending me like that. I smiled. It's nothing. I just don't like seeing people bully you. Micah didn't speak, but the calm mask she'd been wearing had slipped. She looked at me with a new warmth. I patted her shoulder gently. Come on, let's get her shopping done. I have to get to the bar, soon to get ready for the New Year's Eve event tomorrow. Okay, I'll come help you. By the time we left Polaris Retail, my hands were full of shopping bags of all sizes. They were all Micah's purchases, of course, and they gave me a much clearer picture of her spending habits. In just that short time, she'd spent several $1,000s. If I hadn't firmly refused her offer to buy me anything, the total would have easily been double that. After dropping the gifts off at the old apartment, Micah and I headed to the bar. We joined the staff in preparing the materials for the New Year's Eve event. By the time evening approached, we finally had a moment to rest. We sat in a corner booth, drinking something to quench our thirst. Are you tired? I asked her. Micah shook her head, then suddenly remembered something. Leo, was this warmth marketing idea for New Year's Eve your creation? No, I said simply. It's a very targeted event. I was just looking at the customers' Instagram posts. They're all really excited for tomorrow night. The event is going to be a huge success. Let's hope so. So, can you tell me whose idea it was? It's really brilliant. I decided not to hide it anymore. After a short pause, I answered it was Ava's idea. The answer clearly surprised her. She was quiet for a long time before she just nodded and said, I see. Then she fell silent. I knew that even though Micah and I weren't even in a relationship, the name Ava was a taboo subject between us. I just wondered if Ava would show up to help tomorrow night. I remembered she'd told me she would if we were busy. As the evening deepened, Micah went out to get me dinner. I kept working, busying myself with band arrangements. To avoid any last-minute disasters, I needed to call 5 to confirm the band could make it tomorrow. I dialed his number. He picked up right away. Hey, Leo, I was just about to call you. What's up? The drummer bought a ticket home for the holidays. He's leaving tomorrow. You're kidding me. I felt a surge of panic. If it were the guitarist or keyboardist, I could find a replacement. But a drummer? I was screwed. Without a drummer, tomorrow's event would be a flop. 5 just laughed. Don't worry. I already called Gil. He's going to fill in for us tomorrow. Gil? The guy who owns the music shop. Yeah, he's solid. He used to be a full-time drummer. I felt a wave of relief, followed by a pang of guilt. I'm really sorry, man. Making you work on New Year's Eve instead of being with your family. If we're friends, don't say that. Besides, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for Chloe. When she gets back to Portland, you have to make her treat the whole band to a nice dinner. Definitely. No problem. Just as I hung up with 5, Micah returned with 2 takeout containers. She opened one for me and told me to eat. As we ate, she asked, "Did you confirm with the band?" "Yeah, all confirmed. No problems. But you're going to have to sing a few more songs tomorrow night. Don't say it's a hassle. I'm really happy to be able to play with everyone." Seeing the anticipation on her face, I felt my own excitement growing. I was excited for her performance, excited for the event to go well, and most of all, excited to have a New Year's Eve I would never forget. That night, Micah and I ditched the car and walked through the streets, which were already buzzing with a festive holiday energy. I smoked, and she took out a digital camera, snapping photos of people and scenes she liked. A sense of leisure settled over us, and I realized I hadn't felt this relaxed all year. After finishing a cigarette, I nudged her. "Can we talk for a minute?" "About what?" she asked, taking another picture of me. "Before we talk, can you put that camera away? Carrying a camera around all the time isn't a good habit." She looked at me, puzzled. "Not a good habit? What's that supposed to mean?" I laughed. "You know, cameras are dangerous. They can get you into a world of trouble. People's private lives splashed all over the internet. You never know who's watching." "What are you talking about? You're just looking at me like I'm crazy." "Look, just put the camera away, okay? It's especially bad for women. It's just bad form." Micah ignored me, continuing to snap photos of the street scenes, tireless. I was getting bored. I wanted another cigarette, but my throat felt dry and scratchy. Out of boredom, I started kicking an empty can down the sidewalk. I kicked it all the way to the end of the block until a strong gust of wind blew it away, doubling my boredom and making it unbearable. I finally took advantage of a moment when she wasn't paying attention and snatched the camera from her hands. "Leo, what are you doing?" "Just seeing what you're taking pictures of." I started flipping through the photos and was surprised. Most of them weren't streetscapes, as I'd assumed, but pictures of young parents with their adorable children. "You really like kids, huh?" Micah nodded. "I do. If I have a baby someday, he'll be my everything." I scoffed. "You're not exactly a modern woman, are you? You know, having kids completely takes over your life. That's why being child-free is so popular now. What does that have to do with me? I like babies. That's all that matters." "All right, to each their own, but I bet your baby would be really beautiful." Micah seemed genuinely interested in this topic. "How beautiful?" "As beautiful as you," I said. "So pale you look like you're made of porcelain." "How are you so pale anyway? And it's not that sickly pale look either." I looked her up and down again, trying to imagine what she looked like in the summer. We'd met in the fall. I'd never actually seen her in a skirt. She would probably be even more beautiful. Micah ignored my commentary and asked me, "Do you like babies?" I seriously conjured an image in my mind. Micah as my wife, each of us holding a baby. The thought filled me with a sweet warmth. I nodded quickly. "I do. I really do. So you're not afraid of your life being taken over?" My brain would have to be broken to be afraid of that. What I said before was about those new age people who don't want kids. That was a specific group, not a generalization. Micah smiled, seemingly satisfied with my answer. I put on a dramatic, thoughtful expression. "Man, whoever gets to marry you someday will be so lucky. But I bet you have really high standards for your future husband. He just has to be good to me, and good to our baby. That's all." I snorted. "Give me a break. That's what all women say. But in reality, you got a whole list of hidden requirements simmering inside. Don't think I don't know." Micah gave me a half smile. "You seem to know a lot about women." I replied instinctively, "Of course I do. I've been through this before. A woman always acts like she has no requirements, but in reality, she's the hardest to please." "I don't agree with that," she said, "because you haven't truly understood the meaning of good. Then tell me what the real meaning is." "I'm all ears." Micah was silent for a moment before she said, "Being good is something you have to commit to for a lifetime. It's not just a promise or being good for a certain period of time." "And what if a man could do that? Then I would be willing to marry him, be his wife, and have his baby." Micah finished and looked at me. Her words sent a jolt through me. I had an urgent need to express myself, but in the end, I chose silence. Because, as she said, good wasn't just a promise made in a moment of impulse. It was a lifetime of dedication, real, tangible dedication. After I'd calmed down, I said to her, "You'll definitely meet that man who will be good to you for a lifetime. And then you'll marry him and have his baby." Micah nodded, then fell silent. I finally handed the camera back to her, and we walked on, our shadows dancing in the light of the street lamps. As we were about to finish the second block, I asked her, "Have you thought about what songs you'll sing tomorrow night? Or are you just going to wing it?" She shook her head. "I haven't thought about it yet. Why don't you give me some suggestions?" "Okay, How about two songs by Lyra, Equinox and First Frost? They fit the theme, since the bar is named after the seasons. I haven't heard them, but I can learn. Great. When we get back, I'll give you the guitar chords for them, and you can practice. Okay, but the guitar you gave me, I left it at my place at Riverview Estates. I immediately cut her off. Then let's go get it now. I was thinking I could just use your guitar. Don't you think it's a hassle to go all the way over there to get it now? Not at all, I said a little too quickly. Besides, you haven't really broken in that guitar yet, have you? This is the perfect chance to get familiar with it tonight. Micah frowned. What's the deal? Is it because that guitar was a gift from your first love, so no one else is allowed to touch it? I inwardly screamed, that's not fair. While it was true that I used to be protective of that guitar, I had already traded it to Gil for another one. It wasn't even mine anymore. I suspected Gil had probably even modified it by now, since it had mine and Ava's names carved on it. I put on a stern face. Why do you have to make things so complicated? Is it really necessary for us to argue over which guitar to use? I don't want to argue with you either. It's just that you're so annoying. It's like you're always deliberately trying to go against me. I don't care. Tonight, I'm using your guitar. Seeing her determined expression, I suddenly felt like I was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. There was no way I could fulfill her request right now. I quickly scrambled to think of a way out. After a moment of thought, I decided to use the same lie I had once used on Ava to handle Micah. P6.She took that guitar with her to New York. Robin needed to use it. Really, I felt another jolt of panic. Micah wasn't Ava. She hated being deceived and might actually call P6.She to verify. But as a man with a steady nerve, I quickly masked my alarm and smiled. Yes, if you don't believe me, you can call P6.She and ask her right now. Forget it. It's so late. I don't want to bother her and Robin. I breathed a huge sigh of relief. You should still go get your guitar. Let's try to master these two songs tonight. Okay. Back at the old apartment, Micah sat on a chair with her guitar, and I sat on the sofa across from her, holding up the sheet music for her to practice. As the sound of her singing filled the room, my mind drifted. I thought about Lyra, the original singer of these songs, and a sense of regret washed over me. She was a singer I'd really loved. The way she sang First Frost had the feel of a sad fairy tale and had shaken me for a long time. It was a tragedy that a singer like her had chosen to end her own life. Micah suddenly stopped singing. Leo, you seem distracted. Am I not getting the emotion right? No, it's not you. I was just thinking about the original singer. I listened to her album, The Turning Year, on repeat for a long time. The Turning Year? Is that where you got the inspiration for the 5th season? It had some influence, I guess. I used to love the imagery in her lyrics. But the singer, she killed herself. What? Why? Probably over a relationship. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. Man, is life really so hard that you have to escape it by killing yourself? I said, suddenly melancholic. Micah was silent, but her eyes showed a deep sadness, born from the fact that she, too, had suffered from life's cruel blows. After a long time, she asked me, Leo, why is there so much separation and death in life? Fate. No one can escape fate. One day, we'll all leave this world too. Life is short, so we should try to make ourselves happy every single day we're alive. Yeah, but happiness is easier said than done. Humans are creatures full of desire, and as long as there's desire, there will be pain. And where does desire come from? Human nature. If one day you suddenly lose all desire for this world, you won't have any attachment to human life anymore. It seems like a paradox, but that's how it is. We suffer because of desire, and we survive because of desire. Micah looked thoughtful. After a moment, she smiled. Leo, you see things so deeply. At times like this, you're not at all like the person I met that first time. You mean, not as pathetic? Micah didn't answer directly, but her expression was nostalgic. You've given me so many different impressions. It's hard to describe them, but in my eyes, you've become more and more real. You've given me a lot of different impressions too, but you've become more and more illusory. Why? Why are you such a perfect woman? So perfect you don't seem real. The specific mood of the room made me say what I had always felt about her. I watched her quietly, waiting to see what she would say. The perfection you see is just in your eyes. I also cry myself to sleep at night when I feel helpless. Even when you cry, it's like a beautiful fairy tale. Micah looked at me, speechless. Leo, why are you being so cheesy? It's a spontaneous feeling. You're so pale, like Snow White. I replied, illogically. Micah was silent. Why are you so beautiful? Every time we're together, everyone, whether they know us or not, says how beautiful you are. I'm just a green leaf next to you. Maybe not even a green leaf. You're being so shallow right now. Micah finally sighed in exasperation. Shallow is shallow. It's your fault for being so pale and beautiful. You're the most beautiful girl in all of Portland. I can't take you anymore. Can we practice the songs? So I can sing them well tomorrow night and not dishonor that singer you like so much. I finally became serious. Her name was Lyra, a singer who could turn a song into a fairy tale. Okay, I'll remember. Her name was Lyra. That night, we practiced until late, but I didn't feel tired at all. It was as if Micah's voice was carrying me through the changing of the seasons. Her interpretation of the songs was just as evocative, yet different from Lyra's. I was sure that tomorrow, she would bring a lot of surprises to the customers. It was already 1 a.m. I made Micah a cup of hot tea with honey to soothe her throat. She took a sip and said, "You know, you can be quite thoughtful sometimes. You're very good to me. You really think so?" "Yes," I asked, feigning caution. "So, according to what you said earlier, does that mean you're willing to be my wife and have my baby?" Even when I'd said shameless things in the past, Micah had always remained composed. But this time, she suddenly blushed and looked away, not speaking for a long time. "Well, will you be my wife and have my baby?" "No." Her answer didn't disappoint me. I had asked her mostly as a joke and didn't really expect anything. Still, I smiled and asked, "Why not?" "Because you're good to me 1 minute and bad the next. Who knows, if I had your baby, you might suddenly turn into your bad side." Even though I knew her words were mostly a joke, they still stirred a strange feeling in me, especially the phrase, "if I had your baby." It was as if an image of her really having my baby flashed in my mind. I thought, if that day ever comes, I will be the happiest man in the world. I won't be troubled by any other desires, because she will have already given me everything I want. The next day, Micah and I arrived at the bar in the afternoon. The staff was already on high alert. According to the reservations, there would be a total of 168 customers spending New Year's Eve at the 5th season. The sheer number of people guaranteed it would be a lively night. Around 5 p.m., 5 and the rest of the band arrived. Without even a moment to catch their breath, they started a tense sound check. I took a moment to pull 5 aside. "Is Gil going to be okay tonight?" 5 was very confident. "You can rest easy. He's probably on his way here right now." I nodded. 5 suddenly clapped me on the shoulder. "Leo, look behind you. Is it your ex-girlfriend?" I instinctively turned my head and was stunned. Walking toward me was Ava. She had kept her promise and come to help on New Year's Eve. Ava stood in front of me. To fit the festive mood, she was wearing a striking red dress that was both appropriate and beautiful. Ava and I looked at each other for a long moment before I asked, "Aren't you spending New Year's Eve with your family?" She smiled. "I just have to be back before midnight." "Happy New Year, Leo." I returned the smile. "Happy New Year. Thanks for coming to help tonight. Find a place to sit and rest for a bit." Ava nodded and found a seat nearby. Micah was sitting close to her. They exchanged a nod, but said nothing more. Around 6 o'clock, customers started to arrive. The staff directed them to a designated area where they could participate in holiday activities, like decorating cookies. The newly hung string lights and lanterns instantly filled the place with a festive atmosphere. I went over to Ava and handed her the event script. "Can you play host for us tonight?" Ava took the script, looked it over, and nodded. "No problem. Thanks, I appreciate it." Ava put down the script, her tone slightly annoyed. "Leo, can you stop treating me like an outsider? With all the thanks, and I appreciate it. I want to have an unforgettable New Year's Eve, too. So I'm a participant who came here with hope." I gave Ava an apologetic smile. "You're right. That was narrow-minded of me. Well then, I hope we all have an unforgettable night." Ava nodded and picked up the script again, jotting down notes for her hosting duties. I went over to Micah. She wasn't idle either, silently memorizing the guitar chords for Equinox and First Frost. "Leo, why isn't the drummer here yet? These songs are so obscure. If he hasn't heard them, it's going to be hard for him to keep up." I scoffed. "Obscure is just a matter of perspective for you people. For us musicians, who doesn't know these songs?" Micah looked a little embarrassed. After a moment, she said, "You guys are all weirdos, always listening to these obscure songs." "Of course. How else are we supposed to show our personality? Does personality need to be deliberately shown?" Micah asked, confused. "Of course. You think everyone is just born with personality like you? Our personalities are mostly faked. It's what we call having a certain shtick." "What's a shtick?" "It's the ability to put on a front. Let me give you an example. That guy Gil, who owns the music shop. Why do you think he has that long hair like some old lady? It's for the shtick. But honestly, his shtick isn't that great." Micah nodded. "I get it. So among all your musician friends, who has the best shtick?" "Robin. When it comes to having a shtick, he's in a league of his own." Micah was very interested. "Why him?" "Let me tell you a couple of stories about him. Have you noticed what kind of cigarettes he usually smokes?" Micah shook her head. "Pall Malls. The cheap ones. That's an absolute shtick. Last time he pulled out a pack to offer one to a guy collecting cans. The guy turned him down and pulled out a pack of Marlboros, gave one to Robin, and said, "Kid, how are you so broke? I've been collecting cans for years, and I've never seen a young person smoke these." Micah pursed her lips to keep from laughing. I continued, "And his dad still thinks he has a real job in Portland. Every time his dad comes to visit, this idiot wakes up at the crack of dawn, puts on a suit, grabs a briefcase, and goes to squeeze onto the bus with all the office workers. His shtick is so next level it's blinding. He's even putting on a front for his own father." This time, Micah finally couldn't hold it in and laughed out loud. "Huh, a suit and a briefcase. Imagining him like that is hilarious." Micah's laughter drew a glance from Ava, but she quickly looked away. After chatting with Micah for a few more minutes, I looked at my watch. It was almost 6:30. The event was about to start. I yelled over to Five, "Where the hell is Gil? Give him a call and tell him to hurry up." Five sounded a little anxious. "I just tried. He's not picking up. What's going on?" "Don't panic yet. The traffic's probably bad. I'll try him again." I nodded. Just then, Ava, who was sitting nearby, waved me over. I went over to her and sat down. "What's up? Is there a problem with the script?" "The script's fine." She handed it to me. I wrote down some transition lines. "See if they work. If not, give me some feedback." I took the script from her and started reading. As I did, Ava asked curiously, "What were you two talking about just now?" "Just random stuff." "Didn't sound random. It's not an ordinary topic that can make her laugh like that." I instinctively glanced at Micah. It was true. In all the time we'd known each other, I could count the number of times she'd laughed out loud on one hand. I smiled and retold the conversation to Ava. She just smiled faintly. "You and your friends are all a bit repressed. Repressed is repressed." Before I could finish, Gil suddenly appeared in the bar. He walked up to Five, complaining, "You son of a bitch, you really screwed me over. You insisted on using this guitar, so I had to turn back halfway to get it. Then my car got sideswiped by a truck. There's a huge dent in the side. You have full coverage, don't you? The insurance company will pay for it. What are you so worried about? It's New Year's Eve. It's bad luck for something like this to happen. Don't be so superstitious. Now let me see that guitar." Gil grumbled something else, then took the guitar case off his back and handed it to Five. Suddenly, two distinctive silver stripes on the back of the case caught my eye. Ava and Micah's gazes also landed on the guitar case at almost the same time. A chill ran down my spine. The guitar Gil had brought was the one Ava had given me. The two silver stripes on the case were one of a kind. I jumped up from my seat and rushed over to Gil and Five. My only hope was that Micah and Ava hadn't seen the silver stripes. After all, I'd only caught a fleeting glimpse of them, and now the back of the case was pressed against Five's body, conveniently hiding them. I lowered my voice and hissed at Gil, "You idiot. All you do is cause trouble for me. Why did you bring this guitar?" Gil looked around and spotted Micah sitting nearby. He realized his mistake and whispered back, "It's Five's fault. He was the one who insisted on using this guitar." Five looked at us, confused. I said urgently, "Five, grab that guitar and take it backstage right now. Don't use it. That's the guitar my ex-girlfriend gave me. You know that, damn it." Five looked over at Ava, and it finally dawned on him. "Oh crap. How could I forget about that? Just shut up. Hold the guitar, just like you're now. Don't let them see the silver stripes on the back, and get backstage now." After getting my orders, Five turned and walked backstage, holding the guitar in an extremely awkward way. But the anxiety in my heart didn't lessen one bit. I wasn't sure if Micah and Ava had seen the two silver stripes. I calmly returned to Ava's side. She seemed even calmer than I was, her long, pale fingers tapping lightly on the table, her attention focused on the script. It didn't look like she was planning on saying anything else to me. After a long moment, I finally asked her, "How's the script coming along?" Ava smiled. "It's pretty much done. When is the event supposed to start?" Her smile finally allowed me to breathe a sigh of relief. I smiled back. 7 o'clock sharp. Ava checked the time. 20 minutes left. "I'll go over the script one more time. You go do what you need to do." I nodded and left, then went over to Micah. The calm I had just found started to evaporate again, but I maintained a placid expression. "How are you feeling about those two songs?" "No problem." Seeing her usual serene look, I felt another wave of relief. I smiled. Good. Why did you say good twice? Are you afraid I'm going to mess up?" I was grateful to Micah for giving me such a perfect excuse to hide my panic. I nodded quickly. "Yeah, that's it. I'm afraid you'll mess up, since you've never performed these songs before." "Don't worry. I won't mess up." Micah gave me a slight smile. That smile put me even more at ease, and I was sure the guitar crisis had been averted without any real damage. Soon, it was 7 o'clock. The sound of fireworks echoed outside the bar. The new year was just a few hours away. The event officially began. The servers brought out food and drinks for the customers, and Ava took the small stage to host the party. After a customary New Year's greeting on behalf of the bar, the main event began. Micah was the first to perform, singing Equinox. Her performance did not disappoint, quickly bringing the crowd to its first peak. Many customers sang along with her. The fact that so many people knew the song was proof that the customers who came here had a strong artistic leaning. It made me even more confident that this bar would become a sanctuary for a certain part of the city. After Micah finished singing, many customers asked for photos with her. Her multiple performances at the bar had already earned her a small but loyal group of fans. Micah seemed to be in a good mood and didn't refuse their requests, even having a few drinks with them. Ava's hosting was also impeccable. In the middle of the event, she encouraged talented customers to perform, and the atmosphere remained lively under her direction. This led me to believe that she was in a good mood, too. It wasn't until the event ended at 9 that I realized how wrong I was. It was now 9:30 p.m. Inside the bar, the customers were still drinking, chatting, and singing with high spirits. I went outside to see Ava off. Breathing in the fresh outdoor air, I lit a cigarette and said to her, "This time, you have to let me say thank you. You were a huge help tonight." Was I? Ava frowned. Her frown made me think I was seeing things. After all, she had been smiling almost non-stop since she'd arrived. I didn't pay it much mind and added, "Drive safe on your way back. You've still got a few hours before midnight. You'll definitely make it to Seattle in time." Ava's eyes suddenly glistened with tears. She bit her lip and looked at me. At that moment, I finally knew her frown hadn't been my imagination. "What's wrong?" I asked, concerned. After a long, heavy silence, Ava finally asked, "Leo, aren't you going to say anything to me about that guitar?" My heart clenched. I let out a thick plume of smoke. "You saw everything?" Ava's lips twisted into a tearful, ironic smile. "I have every detail of that guitar case etched into my memory. Did you really think that just by hiding those 2 silver stripes, I wouldn't recognize it? But why did I still act like nothing was wrong, right?" My chest felt tight, but I nodded. I really did want to know what had given her the strength to pretend everything was fine. I didn't want to ruin your event with my emotions. But the event is over now, and you have to give me an explanation. You said CC took the guitar. Why was it in that drummer's hands? I stubbed out my cigarette and lit another. After a long pause, my voice was low. I sold it to him. The tears that had been welling in Ava's eyes finally streamed down her pale cheeks. Her voice was choked with pain. "Why would you sell that guitar? What gave you the right?" "It represented the past. I didn't want to keep it around anymore." "Is that okay?" Ava nodded. "Yes, you're right. We shouldn't keep things that represent the past." I took another heavy drag from my cigarette, my mind a muddle of what to say next. Ava suddenly dropped her handbag, sat down on the ground, and pulled off her red leather boots. I stared at her in shock, not knowing what she was doing. Then she took off her socks, and I saw the delicate gold anklet around her ankle. Memories flooded back. I had bought that anklet for her years ago with the money I'd earned playing gigs at a bar. Ava unclasped the anklet, then stood up, barefoot on the freezing pavement. She held it out to me, her voice as cold as ice. "Here's the anklet you gave me. I'm giving it back. And I want that guitar back, too. Can you please put your shoes on first? You're going to get sick like this." Ava ignored my concern, tears still in her eyes, her voice filled with an unshakable resolve. "Take this anklet from my hand." Her bare feet were already starting to cramp from the extreme cold. She lost her balance and fell against me. Without a second thought, I picked up her boots and socks from the ground, scooped her into my arms, and carried her toward her car. As I was about to open the car door, I saw a reflection in the side view mirror. Micah was standing behind me. I didn't hesitate. I pulled open the car door and placed Ava inside. "I was wrong about the guitar," I said to her. "If I really didn't want to keep it, I should have given it back to you, not sold it. Don't worry. I'll get it back and return it to you." "Good. I'll be waiting." With that, she shoved the anklet into my hand, pushed me away, and slammed the door. Without even putting her shoes and socks back on, she started the car. It shot past me, a gust of wind in its wake, and disappeared from sight.